to help keep them open. 5 million rapid tests and 5 million lab-based PCR tests. The White House says states will be able to request these tests immediately, and they'll be available by the end of the month. Jeff Freeman says he wishes Washington...
Okay, I have Reverend Johnson on the line. Would you like me to bring her up?
To the Consumer Brands Association, which represents grocery stores.
Okay.
A lot of workers are...
The company is talking about they have more positive tests in the past 2 weeks than they had in all the
Hey.
those positive tests.
Pastor Johnson?
Companies to shut down manufacturing lines preemptively, and it's leading to just simply not enough supplies.
Expert
Try it again.
Okay, Pastor Johnson?
Wave may be about to peak in the U.S.
Good morning, Sandy.
How are you?
Might then start dropping
I'm
dramatically.
well. How are you?
I'm doing well,
challenging
thank you.
senators to change Senate rules in order to pass voting rights legislation. The AP's Mike Gracia.
The battle over voting rights and Senate rules could hit the Senate
Okay, can you
floor as
bring
early as
the
today.
radio down
Senate
just
Majority
a
Leader
bit?
Chuck Schumer is preparing to push ahead
For
to
me.
debate voting legislation or consider revising Senate rules around the chamber's filibuster blocking device.
We must consider the necessary
Hey,
steps
Linda.
we can
Hey,
take so the
Andre.
Senate can adapt and act.
How are you all
Republicans, led by
doing this
Senator
morning?
Mitch
Thank you
McConnell,
so
are
much for
digging in.
being with us.
Leader is trying to bully his own members.
At an appearance in Atlanta yesterday, President Joe Biden gave his blessing to what some have called the nuclear option.
To protect our democracy, I support changing the Senate rules.
The Senate is split 50-50, and current rules require 60 votes to advance most legislation.
The Dow gained 183 points yesterday. This
Pastor
is AP
Johnson.
News.
I'm always trying to get this stuff together.
North Korea claims its test of a
Last few
hypersonic
minutes I
missile
have
was a
before I go on the
success.
air.
Hypersonic weapons fly at speeds more than 5 times the speed of sound.
Thank
They
you
could pose
so
a crucial
much.
challenge to missile defense systems because of their speed and maneuverability. The AP's Charles de Ledesma with more on this.
The North State media says leader Kim Jong-un oversaw a successful flight test of a hypersonic missile he claimed would remarkably increase the country's war deterrent. The report comes a day after the militaries of South Korea and Japan said they detected South Korea firing a suspected ballistic missile into its eastern sea. The launch was North Korea's second test of a purported hypersonic missile in a week, as Kim continues a defiant push to expand his nuclear weapons capabilities. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
The U.S. says the test did not pose an immediate threat to U.S. territory.
All right, Pastor
or its
Johnson, how are
allies.
you doing?
I'm Rita Foley, AP
I'm
News.
doing great today. How are you, Sandy?
I am doing
This is
great.
8:20
Thank
a.m.
you so much.
WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com.
All right,
We are Chicago's
turn
progressive talk, where
this
facts
down.
matter.
Get my mic up.
Now your WCPT
Like no matter how
820 Chicago traffic
much I
update.
tighten it up, it always slides all the way down. Matt, if you could try to start getting Doctors Knighton and Verholden up by, if you could trying to get them about 6:10, by 6:15, and just even put it in my ear, because I need to know as soon as I can if I need to stretch. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Okay, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just no, I appreciate it. You're doing a great job.
Stevenson traffic's a little bit tight. LaGrange Road
Okay.
to the
Hey,
Bridge
everybody. Well,
and on
you
the
know,
ramp
did
to
you
the
see
inbound
the
line.
president's
It's
speech
24
yesterday?
minutes, 3:55
Did you see
to
it,
Sawmill Lakeshore Drive,
Pastor Vicky?
Brian, 12 minutes from 95th.
Yes, I did, and I saw your father there as well.
The
And you
Tom
saw
Hartman
John.
radio program provides all the intelligence, information, and insight you'll need to
Yeah,
win the
he
water
was gonna
cooler
be there.
wars. Weekdays,
And,
11
and
to
I think
2,
you should have
right here on
been.
WCPT
And I think
820,
people who were protesting
Chicago's
should have been
progressive
doing
talk,
that
where
too.
facts matter.
70% of the
all
Fortune
good.
100 choose Zoom.
Or who?
With
Yeah, I
phone,
guess who
chat,
decided not to be
workspace,
there.
Okay, 1 minute.
But but this
and
is
video
where
in a
we were
single
talking about
platform.
this, and
Zoom powers all your communications. Large
when
enterprises, small businesses, and individuals
when
use
we
the
in the
secure Zoom
primaries,
platform
these
to
are some
enable
things
new
that you
ways of
settle
working, learning,
before
hosting
people
events,
get to
and
vote.
supporting their customers.
You know what I mean?
And now you can save 15%
Right.
on
How
meetings,
hard
chat,
they're
and
going to
phone with a
push
Zoom United bundle.
for your
Visit
issues.
zoom.com/bundle.
That's a real
Zoom,
thing.
how the world connects.
Here's a fun fact for you. The average chameleon can point their eyes in
30 seconds.
Okay, thank you.
On the other hand, the average human can't. So unless you're a chameleon, there's absolutely no way you can focus on texting and driving at the same time. So don't do it, unless you're a chameleon.
Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National
10 seconds.
Traffic Safety Administration.
Remind our
Ad Council.
guests that when they hear my voice, I need to come out.
Because facts matter. You are listening to CPT
Cannot
820.
go over with these times. That you're going to have to start bringing people down.
Change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It's Wednesday. Wow, can you believe it? Can you believe it? I mean, we are deep into January already, January 12th, just before the King holiday on Monday. I'm Santita Jackson coming to you from WCPT, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It's a joy to be with you this morning. Hello, everybody. Hey, Francis. Hey, Linda. Hey, Andre. Hey, Larshan and Makeba and Maddie. And Renato, how you doing, sweetie? And Paula, hey, everybody. And Linear Bob out there in Silicon Valley, Philip in Pennsylvania, sending you all much love today. Please meet my morning stars on the Santita Jackson and Friends page. Many of you have been trying to friend me on the Santita Jackson page. That's not where you need to go. Please go to the Santita Jackson and Friends page. That's where you need to go. That's where I have the activity. I can't accept any more friends on the Santita Jackson page. It's just a landing page. I want to hear from you. 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. You can text me at that number too. We want to talk about the president's speech yesterday. What do you think? Did you think it was right on time? Too much, too little, too late? Do you think that this voting rights bill will get passed? What do you think can happen? You know, Joe Manchin helped to author it. You know, but then too, he agreed on Build Back Better, $1.8 billion, and now he's withdrawn his support for it. So there's a lot that we need to talk about today. And these shifting rules on whether you go back to work when you're asymptomatic COVID or not. A lot of people are confused and a little bothered by that. So we're going to talk about that, dedicating the show today to Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who tested positive for COVID. But thankfully, she said she's experiencing mild symptoms. She is fully vaccinated. And so God bless her and her family. And for all people who've been diagnosed with that and everything else. When we talk with Dr. Deborah Verholten and Dr. Shanina Knighton, we're going to talk about people are needing to be reminded about the flu and the dangers of it. You know, while we're looking at COVID, a whole lot of other things are still here, everybody. Are you getting your tests? Ladies, are you getting your mammograms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? You know, men, are you getting your cells checked? The prostate, all of that. These are things that we've got to start talking about. And what about adult vaccines? Yeah, that's a very real thing too. So got a lot to talk about today on the Santita Jackson Show, so let's get right to it. In the meantime, before we get the good news from Pastor Vicki Johnson, let us get to some of these headlines. Chicago will have a high today of 38 degrees. Oh, I cannot wait. Positively balmy, everybody, but it will be cloudy. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 34 degrees. They will have snow. The Dow closed up 183 points yesterday. The NASDAQ closed up 210 points, and the S&P 500 closed up 42 points. In the NBA, the Timberwolves, well, they lost in a heartbreaker to the Pelicans. The Pelicans 128. The Timberwolves 125. Oh, my goodness. But the Bulls, it was no contest. 133. Bulls, Pistons, 87. And in the NHL, Chicago was triumphant over the Blue Jackets, 4-2. Everybody. President Biden was urging Republicans to act on voting rights yesterday in a speech from from the Atlanta University complex, where you have Morehouse and Spelman and Clark Atlanta University. You used to have Morris Brown, Atlanta University. Iconic, of course, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King went there. Maynard Jackson went there. So many people, so many of our icons went to that particular complex of schools. And so, what did you think about the speech? I want to know your thoughts. Call me at 773-763-9278. Now, what will be the next steps? Dr. Anthony Fauci had quite a grilling on the Hill yesterday. He defended the Biden administration's response to the coronavirus pandemic during a contentious, and it was a contentious, Senate hearing yesterday as scrutiny is growing over a spike in hospitalizations, testing challenges, and frustration over messaging, everybody. In separate comments, the nation's leading infectious disease expert, Dr. Fauci, said the highly transmissible Omicron variant will likely find just about everybody. Do you think it's inevitable? Some people are saying that it's not inevitable that everybody will get COVID. But now they're beginning to say that. What do you think about that? 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. And we're finding this, something for the first time in our history. We are having challenges with the blood supply. Yeah, that's right. Now the Red Cross is saying they don't have enough blood. What do you think about that, everybody? Well, this has never, ever, ever, ever happened before. So what do you think about that? Call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. They have declared for the first time ever, Pastor Vicki Johnson, a blood shortage crisis in the United States of America. Wow. I went into the store yesterday and there were so many empty shelves, and now you're telling me we don't have enough blood? Woo! Pastor Vicki Johnson, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. So the world that we left in 2019 is certainly not the world to which we are returning in 2022. It's a joy to be with you, the pastor of the St. Thomas Lutheran Church here in Chicago at 80th and Jeffrey. We urge you to meet her for that half hour of power on Sundays from 11:45 to 12:15. 80th and Jeffrey, 8,000 Jeffrey, 80th and Jeffrey for us Southsiders. That's right. Just go right there. You're going to get some of the greatest inspiration. And if she sings for you, she's going to knock you out too. Pastor Johnson, what's the good news today?
Good morning, Santita, and good morning to your morning stars and friends. There is good news. Nearly every Saturday at the Saturday morning meeting of Operation Breadbasket, Reverend Jackson would call for Billy Jones and the 100 Voice Intergenerational Breadbasket Choir to rise and sing Precious Memories, How They Linger, How They Ever Flood My Soul. In the stillness of the midnight, sacred secrets he'll unfold. Yes, we sang it weekly to the sweet sounds of the Ben Branch and the orchestra as Gene Barge played a saxophone solo and Wayne jammed on the guitar.
Oh, and Freddie Young.
Oh, yes, Freddie Young on the keys and Dave on organ.
Mickey Warren.
Mickey Warren. Such great memories and such a powerful musical experience as well. It didn't have much meaning to me back then, but it certainly does now. One thing that we have been left with as we enter this new year is precious memories. We have the God-given gift of memory to call up our precious memories whenever we desire. Memories that go back to kindergarten, sitting on the circle matching pictures that were alike, or in 8th grade playing with friends in the snow, or a first dance, a first kiss, first job, a first protest, or as recently as last year, anxiously awaiting the approval of the vaccine so that we could get it. You can do with your memories whatever you want. If they are not pleasant and they have been suppressed, you can seek therapy to deal with them. And despite what our community says, therapy works and is encouraged. It is not just for one segment of the population, but it's good for all. If the memories are precious, hold on to them and let them linger. Memory is a gift from God. If it can bring joy, but it can also bring pain. It is not meant to keep us in a state of euphoria. Life is not like that. What you do with your memories is up to you.
Doctors Verholden and Knighton are ready.
Thank God for last year and the memories we have left behind. Now you control the future memories by what you do today. Take charge, take control, and make them precious. If you can do this, and I hope you will, then to me, that's good news.
Amen, 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 amen. You know, and it's so funny, in those moments, you know, you might be in a lot of pain, and then, or you might just have your challenges. But Pastor Johnson, those become some of the best times of your life.
Yes.
And you know, my father often says, you know, too often we celebrate our cursings instead of celebrating our blessings. And you know, it's enjoying these precious memories as they're being made. I want to thank you for that. You took me all the way back to my childhood. You know, I loved that. You made me start calling all those names. Wayne Bennett, who came out of Bobby Blue Bland's band, it was an orchestra, everybody, and it was wow.
Right.
Wow.
An orchestra, Ben Branch's orchestra.
And of course, Brenda Lee Eager and Sue Conway, may she rest in peace. And Pat Henley. And Lois Scott. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I just have to call the names today. That's right. The Piperettes have to call the names. And of course, you, as a very, very young teenager, lighting up our lives with your solos. And we just thank God for you. And of course, Loretta Oliver and so many. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
We just had the best of the best. You know, the best of the best.
Did.
And of course,
Bradley Walker stepping in as an intern under Billy, who is now gone on.
Oh, Arthur Reed. Oh, John Harper. Oh, boy. We've had some real Stretch, who's still with us, who's still 10 feet tall.
Thank God.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, I love you. Love you, Pastor Vicki. Love you. Thank you so much for that, because I needed that today. Those memories are precious. They are. And everybody, I hope that you will really just think about some of your precious memories today and make some precious memories today, and know that what you're doing today will be precious tomorrow if you just keep holding on. Love you, Pastor Vicki Johnson. The St. Thomas Lutheran Church. Oh, absolutely. 11:45 to 12:15 every Sunday at 80th and Jeffrey. 80th and Jeffrey. All right.
And because the numbers are rising again, we are back virtual.
Oh, okay. So now how do we get you online?
Wow. To do otherwise. Get us on Facebook Live on St. Thomas Lutheran Church Chicago page.
Unbelievable. Well, this is where we are, everybody. This is where we are. So thank you so much for the correction. So everybody go online, but you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. Blessings to you. Well, I've got doctors Shanina Knighton, of course, infection preventionist. I know she was lit up. Dr. Verholden yesterday, who's the Associate Dean of Public Health. She is really our anchor in the health space on the Santita Jackson Show. Associate Dean of Public Health at the Michigan State University School of Medicine. Let me first get your reaction. There are so many stories. I have whiplash, and I know you get tired of my texts, Dr. Deborah Verholden, but I come across so much, and I want to know.
Everybody should. I live for these 3 a.m. texts from you.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But, you know, it's just so much. And people have so many questions, and and you said you were gonna come, and so there we go. But there are a couple of things that I wanted to look at. We, of course, saw a really contentious hearing with Dr. Fauci and other Dr. Walensky and others who, for the first time since the Omicron variant, since this surge, they met in a hearing before our senators yesterday, and they said, Dr. Fauci on down. Well, the Omicron variant will find just about everybody. That just about everybody's going to get it. Just take that for granted. And then I was reading something from the cystic fibrosis website. They said, not so fast. It's not inevitable that everyone will get COVID. What say you?
Well, it's so funny because I've been talking, during our regular local webinar and all these different places. And I've said it even on this show. I feel like I came back from the holiday break and everybody had COVID. And I always preface it with, I'm being a bit hyperbolic. Mm-hmm. But when I say everybody had COVID, like almost every family I know had somebody in the family that had COVID. Many of them had multiple people that have COVID, and every single day. People, I'm like the COVID disclosure space. People say, well, when the baby girl tested positive, what should we do to keep everybody else? People just, call me and tell me this kind of stuff. And so I do call this the wildfire variant. It spreads just so easily. And us having these poor practices before, Dr. Knighton has reminded us all that we basically none of us know how to wash our hands nor do it correctly. That old day of running your hands under the water, we've all seen it. You've been in the restroom somewhere out and somebody just turns the water on or sticks their hands under it real quick and it comes on and they just stick their hands in the air and walk out.
Sprinkle.
Yeah, and literally now we found out that that's worse. That's worse. You probably actually do better to just rub your hands together and create friction for 30 seconds on your way back to your seat than to do that, right? Yes. And so us having, being so bad with doing all these basic things, we still really haven't mastered masking, right? Mm-hmm. We don't even have a national mask mandate. Most people would, still don't take on and put on and take off their mask properly. They don't wear the right mask. Now we said, okay, so now not only do we need our mask, but you're going to need, predictably an N95 or a KN95 mask, or if you want to wear your cloth mask, you're going to have to put at least a surgical mask underneath of it. Like, we're asking people to, build on these foundational skills that we really didn't get in solid with our people. We didn't get prevention in solid with our people. And then we put all of this weight on the vaccine, which provides something, but doesn't, carry the whole day. And so, I don't think it's inevitable, but I do think it's highly predictable that a lot of people are going to catch COVID now. We just don't reliably and consistently demonstrate the behaviors that are needed to prevent it from being that way. And we also don't have the laws and policies and enforcement of those laws and policies in place. The few laws and policies that we have aren't enforced. Even when states had mask mandates, who was enforcing it? The little lady at the big box store, the greeter, was literally supposed to be the one to say, "Excuse me, sir, you can't come in without a mask." And that was not in the job description to be the enforcer. They were supposed to greet people and hand out lollipops to children, not enforce mask mandates in the midst of a pandemic. But that's exactly how it was set up, and then it didn't happen. So I don't think it's deterministic. No, it's not inevitable. No, but it is highly predictable when you look at the landscape. But Dr. Walensky and Dr. Fauci have contributed to that, telling people quarantine for fewer days. Dr. Fauci telling people if you're vaccinated, you can have unmasked gatherings and enjoy your family time. And, all of that stuff is a part of what's added to the predictability and almost certainty of massive infections. They've contributed to that. So for him to now what was that thing on Johnny Carson, where he had the guy with the turban? And
Karnak the Magnificent.
Yes. Yeah, now for him to act like that, it's like, brother, you caused this. Like, come on now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But but is that why you brought when you met Dr. Knighton and you said we've got to bring her on because there are things that we can do to mitigate. If we cannot completely inoculate, you certainly can mitigate because is that the reason?
Well, actually, if we had people like Dr. Knighton, I think, at the forefront of the strategy early on, I think we could have done a lot better in the U.S. Globally, we missed the chance to eradicate, right? That would have had to be really a global coming together. And I would honestly say the U.S. could have played a much bigger and more important role in that. Not just the U.S., many other, resource-rich countries could have played a bigger role in that. But we should have had Dr. Knighton in the very beginning. She makes a very good point about how our strategy that we've used, because, her and I, in between the segments and while others are talking, we're texting. We're texting the whole time, right? And she was saying how our overall strategy really was targeted towards older people. It was. I mean, if you look at it, it's really older adults, it's sicker adults who need vaccines. They're really the ones at greatest risk for, these negative or more severe COVID-related outcomes. And so when you think about school children, what school children really needed was some real deep grounding in prevention. Mm-hmm. That's what we needed it for school children. That's what we needed for school staff. That's what we needed in workplaces and all of that. Because guess what? Even though we now have the vaccine, guess what we still need to be working alongside the vaccine? All of those prevention strategies. The vaccine is adding a layer, and it looks like that layer got more holes in it than we thought. Mm-hmm. But it's still a layer, but it's got more holes than we thought. So the layers of prevention become even more important. And we still don't emphasize those enough. And we haven't demonstrated facility or mastery in reliably and consistently implementing and practicing those prevention strategies, whether we talk at an institutional level, at a community level, within a workplace, as a society. We just haven't done it. And so I think that's why we need Dr. Knighton. And I felt like a broken record. And it's funny because when she talked, and I've heard her say the same thing many times, I allow it to impact me newly every time. Yeah. She doesn't sound like a broken record to me at all.
But she doesn't say...
I sound like a broken record to myself, but to me, I let her information impact me newly every time and think about how do I integrate this and internalize it so it just becomes how I operate in the world.
It lands every time. When we get on the other side, we've got Dr. Shanina Knighton to talk to us about Omicron. Will it hit everybody? And people needing to be reminded, Dr. Verholden, which fits into your NICE program, about the flu. I mean, we still have other issues out here. We still need vaccines for other maladies that could really make us sick, and we don't have to be. And what does fully vaccinated mean? I spoke with one of my best friends out in California yesterday, who's a physician. She said, well, if I get sick, I can go back to work now. I said, what are you all talking about? What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? Well, you know what? We're going to work it out, and we're going to figure out how we can stay as healthy and healthful as we possibly can on the Santita Jackson Show. Dr. Nina.Preventionist on Instagram. Prevention Saves Lives is her website. Dr. Deb Verholden. Dr. Deb Verholden. That is her handle. Follow them both. We'll be back with more of the Santita Jackson Show on the other side of the break. Back in just a few minutes. Okay, D-Ray says that Dr. Knighton and Dr. Deb should have been in Biden's cabinet. Yes.
You know what, though, Santita, it's so funny. I think that, too, and Lord knows I don't need another job, another gig, especially another unpaid gig, because a lot of those positions require a lot of time, and you're universities and all that basically kind of give you the buyout time, but these aren't paid positions, which is one thing, and that's okay. Because it's a lot of stuff I do that I'm called to do. That it's not. I don't do it for the money. I do it because it's the right thing to do, and I have a paycheck. But literally, there's but so much time in the day. So this is a problem too, because none of these Congress people work for free. Yet they'll create all these committees and task forces, and a lot of people will be doing them for free. I don't like that. The second thing is, oftentimes in these spaces, their goal is to develop consensus, and I don't like that. To be honest, I don't think the bottom line and the end game should be that we all agree on something. I just don't believe that, because we might not all agree. What we need are spaces where we can put things forward and we can have leaders that are going to make decisions that are driven by scientists. And science is not about us all agreeing on something. It's about us all bringing our expertise to bear and creating something that will be greater than the sum of our individual parts.
But because to me, I always thought that scientists debated. I mean, that's something my father and I have been going back and forth about. I'm like, wait a minute. Many, if not most of the scientists I know are atheist or agnostic. Because you can just go that far in the thing. Hypotheses have to be proven. So I'm like, all these yes people. I'm like, wait a minute, you're hurting yourself. It hasn't even been proved to you yet. But you know what, ladies, we're gonna go a little early today. At 44, I'm gonna need to close things out. But I do want you to react to everybody getting COVID, since that's what Dr. Fauci said. But Dr. Deb, do you want to go into people needing to be reminded about the flu, or what fully vaccinated really means?
Yeah, we should talk about that.
Which one?
The definition hasn't changed, but both of them.
Okay.
It's evolving. And my health officer, I'm debating about how I feel about this because it might be confusing to people. But she says, think of your vaccine as whatever you got, subtract one dose. So if you got the Johnson & Johnson, it's almost like you're not vaccinated.
Oh, my gosh.
If you got the Pfizer or Moderna and you only got 2 shots, it's like you only got 1 shot. If you got the Pfizer and Moderna and you've had your 3, it's like you've had 2, right? Like, and so.
So what was the first shot? What was that? A drink of water?
Well, when we talk about effectiveness now, that's what we're back to. So it takes, to get to the effectiveness that you used to get from your 2 shots, now you need 3 shots to get there.
But Dr. Deb, this is my problem with all of this. If I had you and Dr. Knighton, who are plain spoken and who speak to me, not down to me, not ordering me, because grown folks don't do that well, I think it would be different. But first of all, you have to have trusted messengers, and we've been talking about that.
Yeah.
And just broadly speaking in our society. Thank you so much, Matt. And I'm thinking about Matt today. He's got a bit of a cold, but he's doing all right. He came on into work and he's pushing on through. Sending him much love today. Brilliant engineer that I have, learning on the job, and he has been great.
Thank you.
No. Bless your heart. You're a jewel, and I want people to know that.
Dr. Knighton's skin just crawled, right? You just made her skin crawl, right?
Well, of course. Well,
5 seconds.
If you're not 100%, she sounds. I told you she's like my grandma Gertrude. May she rest in peace. She thought everybody was filthy.
Change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. I am free.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. Call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. 9278. You can text me at that number as well. Are you a little confused about what the CDC has been telling us to do if we're going to go back to work? I mean, they're pulling healthcare workers who had previously been released, fired, because they were not vaccinated. They're asking them to come back, and workers, period. If you've been COVID positive and you're asymptomatic, they said just mask up and come back to work because we really do have an emergency. Wow. What does that mean? And then we hear at this Senate hearing yesterday from Dr. Fauci and other 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 leading health experts that, everybody's going to get Omicron. Everybody's going to get it. So just, get over that. Wow. When you hear that, before we start talking about what it means to be fully boosted and why people need to be reminded about the flu and other maladies, Dr. Uh, Dr. Knighton, as an infection preventionist, what does that mean to you?
Good morning.
Good
It's
morning.
actually hurtful.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like at this point, 2 years in, you would think that the messaging as well as the details will have elevated. And so the fact that you mentioned to everyone, everyone's going to get it, I think is very unfair, it's very unethical, and it's negative. So that's one. The second piece of it is quarantine at home for 5 days. There are no details that are provided about the people that are being told that, yes, you are positive. But when you go home and you quarantine, these are the steps that you need to take to make sure that it doesn't run rampant through your whole house, right? These are not things that are discussed. And even in our house, if let's say I know, like, for example, me and my kids just came back from a dance competition, which means that the majority of us were out. We had already taken like other, proactive measures. And so we did a reverse mask wearing. Well, we were the ones in our house responsible for wearing masks until we confirmed that we had a negative test when we came back because the majority of us were out, right? And then, so it's already knowing that you're at risk by just being out in certain levels and making sure that you are tested, let's say, at regular intervals. The other piece of that is let's say someone does come home with a positive test, and this actually happens. So I'm with Dr. Gabb, in regards to us knowing someone that has tested positive. And so in this particular instance, my brother and my father, who live together, my dad tests positive, but my brother is still negative, and my brother didn't have any symptoms. Why is that? Because my dad already knew. He said, you know what, and this is a small home. I'm talking about a home that's about maybe 700 square feet total, so very small, right? So my father knew to stay in his home. He also knew that he needed to spray the air. He knew that he needed to clean behind himself in the restroom, and if he couldn't, he made sure that he told my brother, like, hey, these are things that you need to do because this is where I am, and this is what I did not get a chance to do today. And so there are ways for which people inside of your home don't have to get it. So when you listen to our leaders say, just quarantine for 5 days, in my mind, it's where the heck is the rest of the details? Where are the rest of the details to show people, like, yes, you have to quarantine for a shorter period of time, but hey, you may be symptomatic after day 5. You may not be symptomatic after day 5. Where are the details at to make sure that those individuals that reside in at home also know that they don't have to be sick? I cringe because, again, I live in Cleveland. I actually live in Euclid, but it's still 2 minutes away. But either way it goes, it's still the largest poorest city in America. So whereas it's, someone can quarantine in the individual room, we still have individuals where it might be 8 people to an apartment. It might be X amount of people to a bed. So where are their guidelines at? And so the way that things are presented to me is in a manner in which people have not checked their privilege. It means, just because y'all live together, y'all gonna get it. Just because you don't have an extra room, y'all gonna get it. Don't try to take any other extra precautions to make sure not. Everybody just quarantine for 5 days. What about those individuals that have to get to work because they can lose their job if they're not there? What about individuals that are caring for someone that's immunocompromised? We see the data, we see what it says, and it talks about people with certain conditions that are at more risk for death as well as hospitalization. So in that particular instance, all of us have that loved one. We have that loved one either that we're caring for, we have that loved one that maybe we are that person with chronic conditions that needs to be protected. And so when I bring up, we've talked about this all week on the show, are we educating kids? Kids are very resilient. And I'm telling you, I know some kids that can tell you better infection prevention practices than adults, as well as practice those practices better than adults. But we're not going into enough detail with people. Yes, I hate the words when they say, just wear the mask. okay, you can wear the mask, but if only 3 to 6% of people cleaning their hands correctly, you've already failed at wearing that mask. Because if you didn't clean your hands properly before putting it on, and if you're not cleaning your hands properly when taking it off and don't know how to take it off, then you're almost in the same boat as somebody that's not wearing a mask at all. Because you've now created a cross-contamination situation, right? And so I just don't think that we're spending enough time on details, and that's what's upsetting. And as I mentioned, when we're hearing the messaging, and I've said this from the beginning, about vaccines, about tests, about, well, just quarantine, about, just wear the mask, all of these things, it is so upsetting because I know individuals that have not gotten COVID. I know individuals that refuse to be vaccinated that still haven't gotten COVID. I know individuals that are vaccinated that haven't gotten COVID. And so when you look at this situation of everyone being told, it's just an
Mr. McKee is ready.
Get it. That to me is so unfair, and it's not sending the right message because not everyone may make it out of the Omicron variant. So it's almost like you're issuing a death sentence for those that already know that they're compromised, and that is so unfair and unethical.
Well, I think it is unfair. I mean, because no one, Dr. Deb, is talking about prevention. I've got about 4 more minutes here because your favorite person, Dr. D, is holding on so we can begin to kick off what happened with President Biden yesterday and his call for voting rights, his call for a vote on voting rights. What about being fully vaccinated? We went from needing to get the vaccine to now there are different classifications for those who are fully vaccinated, boosted, and basically if you're not boosted, you're not fully vaccinated. So, I mean, what is the deal here? I've got about 4 minutes.
Yeah, we've now figured out that you need more. And we knew that this was coming. We just didn't know how much more and what frequency, and would it be seasonal or would it be, so we're still figuring a lot of that stuff out. This is another one. Again, the communications, we've got to get better, and we've got to make sure that it's really backed by the science. And I remind people that the science and our scientific understanding is evolving, right? It's not like there's just some set rules that we can just follow. This is a new virus to the human population, and so we're learning a lot about it in real time. To that end, I look at somebody like me. So I had 2 doses. I was scheduled for a booster and contracted COVID before I got that booster. So I had COVID within the last 6 weeks.
So did you get a booster?
I have not gotten a booster yet, and my university has now issued a requirement that everybody be boosted by February 1. And I thought about it. I personally, just me personally, said I was going to wait 8 weeks before I got a booster. Why? Because the science, as I understand it, says with my double shots already and then infection and recovery, I've got sufficient protection, at least for 8 weeks. And I personally was like, I want to hold out and see, one, if a second generation vaccine comes out that is more specific to the strains that are currently out, or at least just more recent than the original vaccines, which were built on the strain at the time, right? It was sort of built on the original virus. And then I also wanted a chance to just not have my immune system go out of whack. And so I said, well, I kind of did the math, and I thought, well, February 1st is a little bit earlier than I had hoped, but, the reality of it is I'm going to get it because I don't want to deal with the compliance issues. And mind you, these big places, it'll take them forever to figure out who has it, who doesn't have it. It's all on the honor system, but I feel no need to be anything less than honest.
Sure.
So I will get my booster shot by February 1, but it'll probably be very close to February 1.
Well,
so, this is just...
In the last minute, is it safe? Because you have been fully vaccinated. Before you could get your booster shot, you got COVID. So don't you have antibodies? I mean, I'm not the scientist, but help me with that.
Yeah, and the recommendation is that people still get boosters. It has varied how long after you recover you should get your booster. Remember, we were telling people in COVID that and the CDC has changed those recommendations. At one point, they said as soon as your symptoms resolve, you can get your vaccine. And then they said you should wait 2 weeks after your symptoms resolve. I remember at some point it was 30 days or 4 weeks. It was 2 weeks. It was right after the symptoms resolve. It moves and changes a bit. What I do know is that I've got a high level of protection right now because of my own, infection and recovery, added to the fact that I was fully vaccinated by the definition at the time.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about these boosters. Remember, for many of us, I just became booster eligible in November, the same month that I contracted COVID.
Ooh.
And so I didn't have a whole lot of time of being booster eligible, and then I contracted COVID. And so I had to make that decision that made sense for me. And what I recommend that people do is talk to your healthcare provider. Talk to your healthcare provider. And again, if you don't have a healthcare provider, then get one. If you don't have insurance, you reach out to your local health plan. Health insurance and affordable health care has actually become more affordable than ever. The eligibility criteria and the copay have changed dramatically. And so a lot of people who were not, it was cost prohibitive before, they would just pay the penalty for being uninsured, now find that it's cheaper and actually affordable for them to have health care. So reach out to your local health plan. Either put in your city or your county and the word health plan, and it should come up. And then also reach out to your local federally qualified health center, FQHC. Their job is to provide health care, primary care. Many of them serve as health homes for people in communities, for the people who live in medically underserved communities. And there are more, and so some people might say, well, I'm not sure if I live in a medically underserved community. You know what? If you don't live in one, you live near one. And the federally qualified health centers, their task and their charge is to provide health care for those who either can't afford it or don't have ready access, or to be the stake in the ground for health and health care in medically underserved communities. So even if you don't live in that community, you're still eligible to access the care that is generated through these federally qualified health centers. And I encourage people to do that. They have primary health care providers there, nurse practitioners, nurses, physicians, et cetera. So if you don't have somebody to talk to about it, now is the time to get somebody. I've been telling people this the entire pandemic. You absolutely need a primary health care professional on your health team. And wouldn't you much rather be building relationships with a primary health care provider, even if it's a group, in a time of non-crisis? The time to be developing a relationship with somebody ideally is not when you're in crisis. You don't want it to be when your back is up against the wall and making a critical health decision, or even worse, you become ill. So that is really my cry to get coverage and get a primary health care provider. These are the conversations that you should be having with them and the decisions that you should be navigating with them.
Everybody, Dr. Deb Verholden, that is the handle. And you've got Dr. Nina.preventionist on IG. Dr. Nina.preventionist, and prevention saves lives. We're going to be talking more tomorrow. We really are going to get into reminding people about all of the things, the other maladies that are out here that from which we need protection. I can't wait to talk about that. When I came across that story about the flu, I said, oh, this is something Dr. Deb will appreciate at 3 a.m. Never mind. I'm not thinking about her. It hurt my feelings. You see, I'm on top of things. But I've got one of your favorites here, Dr. D. The other Dr. D. Dwight McKee.
Hey, good morning.
And that's right, Dr. Nina and Dr. D. Meet Dr. Deb, Dr. Nina, of course, Dr. D. Dwight McKee, social scientist. Of course, you saw yesterday we had President Biden challenging the Senate from Atlanta. He said, I'm tired of being quiet. And so he is now pushing for voting rights legislation. He's going to stand against voter suppression. He's going to work to change the Senate rules, even though people are trying to figure out how he's going to do that. Although when we were voting, he said, I'm the one you need to vote for because I know how to work with the Senate. What did you make of yesterday's speech? Was it right on time? Was it too much, too little, too late, somewhere in between? Or what do you think?
Are you asking
you?
Me?
Of course.
Oh, yeah. But a speech ain't a strategy. And what I didn't hear is what is the plan? What the Republicans have been dealing with for the last really 5 to 6 years or if we really go back to the all the way back to the 70s with the silent majority, they had a strategy that they could use, that they would use in order to suppress the vote and maintain control. It was, they organized the Secretary of States. They had a legal strategy. They set up colleges to teach people how to litigate in their interest. This has been 30 years undercoming on the Republican side with a legitimate strategy. What I'm not hearing on the Democratic side is a counter strategy to say, how can we fight this fight? Will we meet them on the land, the sea, or the water? This fight has to happen at the local level legislatively, because that's where it's coming from. It has to happen at the national level with a change in whether constitutional law or the filibuster or different elements that are, that the Republicans have control of now. It has to happen on the level of the people, of the grassroots level. And some of the grassroots organizations was boycotting the speech, which I really didn't understand. So I think the speech was great, but the speech ain't a strategy.
Well, what didn't you understand about the protests from the grassroots organizations yesterday?
I didn't understand why so late. One, if you were going to make the point to impose your will on Biden, it should have happened last year, so he can have a momentum going in. And right now, when he needs the most help from that group, which was the group that really almost imposed him upon us, they're nowhere to be found. And I thought that was very confusing.
Call me at 773-763-9278, 773-WCPT. What do you think, everybody? What do you think? What do you think about the speech yesterday? Was it a strategy? Do you think it's going to work? Will we get our voting rights secured? Dwight, what is at risk if this voting rights legislation does not go through?
I said yesterday in our conversation that for us, voting is not the process. I mean, not part of the process. It is the process. It is what we fought 150 years to have. Because in a country that prides itself on being a democratic republic, that the only thing that we have, if you don't have money, if you don't have prestige, if you can't lobby, is your vote. And in a real sense, that's what the lobbyists are paid for to try to secure is your vote. And so it's the greatest power as individuals that we have. If you take that away, then we're just pawns in somebody else's game. We're not even part of the political matrix if you take the vote away. And so that's worth fighting for and fighting over. And in a democracy, it's the only thing that almost evens the playing field. And the people in charge already know that, which is why they work so hard to take ours away and to increase theirs. And that's why I always talk about that the Constitution said we're 3/5. If we're 3/5 of a man, then we're the other 2/5 who got the other 2/5. And those people who are fighting to keep us from being able to vote, they're fighting to take our 2/5. So now they got 7/5 and we got 3/5. And in that equation, you never catch up.
We're talking about President Biden's speech yesterday. We're going to be talking with Latasha Brown at the bottom of the next hour. She, of course, with Black Voters Matter, they boycotted the speech because they said, we don't need another photo op. We need a plan. We need a plan to move forward. We're going to have David Daley, the author of Unrigged and Rat Effed, which lays out the plan that the Republicans have been, that they planned and that they have been enacting for years. and with a fierceness since 2008. They absolutely have. If you know, my father says, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Well, they do not plan to fail. They've got a plan. What is the Democrats' plan? What is the plan now to go to Congress, Dwight, and have a carve out on the filibuster? Do you think it's going to work?
Well, again, that's part of the strategy. Is that how are you going to deal with those contrary senators in your own party who's refusing to address the filibuster? How you going to press them? How you going to pressure them? What are you promising the Republicans, who those like willing to, like Cheney, jump to the other side if the right deal is put on the table? What are you prepared to give them to entice them? You have to have a legitimate strategy to say, here's how we're going to play this. Cheney, maybe at some point you want to flip parties. If you do, here's what we're willing to put on the table. Here's what we're willing to do for your state. Here's what we're willing to do for you. Here are the committees you need. We can put you on. Here is how this can benefit your ideology and what things we're willing to compromise on. And there are two or three, I would think, Republicans that with a strategy you can at least plug off on the issue of filibuster if you can't get them to change parties. But you can't do it just by making great speeches and saying, I'm mad, I'm mad, I'm mad, I'm mad.
Should he have made the speech in Washington? Do you think it would have been more effective if he went to Washington? Or do you think it was more impactful for him to be in Atlanta at the King Center and at Dr. King's alma mater?
I think it would be more effective if you would have started a year ago and gone around the country and practice in every state. I mean, the King Center, there's a lot of symbology there, and symbolisms are important. But something that's this important is a national, international issue. You got countries all over the world looking to see if our democracy is viable and can work. You got NATO dependent upon the Democrats to be able to maintain the Senate and maintain Congress. Because if Trump gets back in, and he made there's a good chance he will, he's going to suspend the relationship with NATO, which is going to cause international problems. You know, you have China looking at what's happening over here, because how are we going to deal with the conflict over Taiwan? I mean, the whole future of the world is at stake. And so you just can't be on the sideline wishing and hoping. You can't be in the corner with a notion. You got to take this seriously and deal with a strategy.
Everybody, so what do you think? Call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763. WCPT, what did you make of the president's speech? Is it right on time, too much, too little, too late? Should it have happened last year? What about going forward? What can we do to solidify our voting rights? Call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. Latasha Brown in the next hour, and David Daly and Attorney Darrell Jones from the Transformative Justice Coalition, all happening with legal Q&A with CK. Because indeed, Attorney C.K. Hoffler had as a pillar of her administration as she was president of the National Bar Association, the largest black bar association in the world, it was voting rights. She said, no. If we don't get our voting rights locked in, if we don't tighten them up, everything else is immaterial. C.K. Hoffler up on the Santita Jackson Show in just a few minutes. Dwight McKee.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Okay. You want me to stay and listen?
No. I mean, if you'd like to, you know you're more than welcome to. You know you're more than welcome. Okay. I was trying to give you the space when I spoke with you yesterday. You want to say hello to Dr. Deb?
Dr. Deb, I called Dr. Deb.
She just dropped.
Okay.
It was Happy New Year.
Okay.
And she never called me back.
Well, she is gone now, so what you just said was it didn't land.
Actually doing your show.
Huh?
She was actually doing your show. Jesse Jackson.
Oh yeah.
She was a guest on Sunday. She said.
Yes, bless her heart. She is great.
What did you think about the Fauci thing yesterday?
You know what? It was the first time I'd actually seen that, and oh my goodness, whew, I didn't realize that it was so hostile, like you said. Oh wee. I mean, I didn't know it was going to be that hostile. I was shocked, quite frankly, Dwight.
Oh yeah, they're like.
Oh man, I mean, and I could see the stress on Dr. Fauci. I mean, because this is like there is anger here, and I was surprised that Senator Murray did not rein Senator Paul in, because Senator Paul was talking over Dr. Fauci. I mean, he was pushing. He was very, very aggressive. And Dr. Fauci was trying to push back, but it's like she didn't take up for him. I mean, she didn't say, "Hey, let him answer the question." She didn't do any of that. She just let it ride. That was surprising to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was really surprised by that.
There's animosity there.
Whew. Wow, Dwight, you told me about the hearings. I've never had a chance to really sit and watch. And I was only able to watch for about 30 minutes. But boy, I had my fill. I was like, wow, I didn't know it was like this. And the way they edit the hearings, the way they present them on the news, everybody, when you see them on the news, they completely, at least on MSNBC, CNN, and all the other major corporate networks, they don't give you the real the way the hearings shook out. They paint Dr. Fauci as someone who came in and he took his stand, and no, he got beaten up yesterday. Be very clear. And these people are representing they're representing a segment of the country. And I think that's why Senator Murray let Senator Paul go on. It was like, wow. And then the other senator was asking him about his investments. I said, whoa, this, and whew, it was a lot.
It's amazing how strategically they edited that broadcast.
Oh, yeah.
That's a very, very intelligent analysis you have in that. Because that it did not represent the spirit of what the hearing was about.
Hold on, Dwight. I'm sorry. Who do we have?
We have attorneys Hoffler and Jones and Mr. Daly.
Wonderful.
Did you want Miss Brown on now or
No. She's at 7:30.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure on that.
Okay, very good. And what we're going to do, remember, right after I do the headlines, I've got to go to the 1-minute read.
Yep. David Hopper agreed.
And so if you can pull that and send it to me, bless your heart, try and get some tea or something, okay?
Yeah, I will when I get out of here later. I'll get something.
Okay. All right. Okay. Hey, CK? CK?
Good morning. Hi, Santita. How are you?
Hey, did you look in your text? I sent you a list of who's who, right? Okay, very good. I'll start doing that moving forward. Well, only because, you're in the middle of a court case. And David Daly? David Daly?
Sorry, I was on mute. How you doing this morning?
Oh, okay, great. Attorney Jones? Attorney Jones?
Good morning, Santita.
Hey, how are you? Happy New Year.
Great hearing your voice.
Great hearing your voice. Hope you've had a wonderful holiday season.
It has been blessed. I hope yours has been great too.
Whew, yes, it was. I actually got some rest.
30 seconds.
Rest, what's that?
Oh, something I got, which, you know what? I felt the impact of it. I'm going to start living my life just a little differently, okay? Just a little. Oh, yeah. Well, not to mention the fact that I'm going to start living my life. Because, I was like, I've sacrificed a lot just to get the show going. But you got to
10 seconds.
Live a life. You've got to do that. That's very important. So.
Yeah, well, when you live as...
Change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. I am breathing.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show, WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It's Wednesday, not June, it's January, because believe me, it doesn't feel like June out there when you get out there today. January 12th, 2022. I'm Santita Jackson. It's a joy to be with you today. I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT 773-763-9278. Keep calling Laura and everybody else. We're going to make some space for you so that we can hear your thoughts about President Biden's speech about this push for voting rights. So let's get right to it. Let's get some of these headlines out of the way. I want you to meet my morning stars on the Santita Jackson and Friends page. Everybody, I know you've been trying to request my Facebook friendship on the Santita Jackson page. I can't do it over there. Santita Jackson and Friends, that's where you need to be. Santita Jackson IG on Instagram, at Santita J on Twitter, everybody. And the Santita Jackson Show on YouTube. Everybody, hop on over there. Barbara Bacon, meet Dave Dowling over there. And Abraham, how you doing, sweetie? Sending you much love. And Paula and Dave, and Linda, everybody out there. Meddy and Anna and Twyla down there in Alabama. And Philip out in Pennsylvania. So many of you all over the country. Let's get to it. Chicago, we're going to have a high of 38 degrees, cloudy. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 34 degrees, snow. The Dow closed up yesterday, 183 points. The S&P 500 closed up 42 points, and the NASDAQ closed up 210 points. In the NBA, the Timberwolves, they lost a heartbreaker to the Pelicans last night. The Pelicans 128, the Timberwolves 125. But the Bulls, boy, oh boy, they had a rout. Bulls 133, the Pistons 87 in the NHL. Chicago had another win. Chicago for the Blue Jackets 2, everybody. Dr. Anthony Fauci rigorously defended the Biden administration's response to the coronavirus pandemic during a contentious Senate hearing yesterday as scrutiny grows over a spike in hospitalizations, testing challenges, and frustration over messaging in separate comments. The nation's leading infectious health expert did say that Omicron is likely to find everybody. We've been talking with Dr. Shanina Knighton and Dr. Deborah Verholden about how we can help it not find you. So please go to the Santita Jackson Show podcast, Santita WCPT 820.com/Santita, so you can hear Dr. Shanina Knighton and Dr. Deborah Verholden's comments about that today, everybody. And let us look at this filibuster. What is going to happen? Will we get our voting rights? What is going to happen? We need to talk about that. I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. Many people are saying that President Biden has a little fire under his feet because of the 2022 election and maybe 2024. Call me at 773-763-9278. But before we get into that, I want you to reach out to Team Hochberg so you can save your home. If you have credit that you need to establish, if you have credit that you need to fix, Team Hochberg can help you. If you're purchasing a new home, refinancing your existing home, securing a VA loan or reverse mortgage, you need to call Team Hochberg. They're your trusted local lender. Doug and Christine, for example, married with 3 kids, living paycheck to paycheck, entered forbearance during the pandemic, deferred their mortgage payments for 16 months. I know that happened to a lot of you. And they resumed their mortgage payments last year, but the increased cost of gas and other expenses, their utilities, ballooned their credit card debt to over $30,000. And Team Hochberg helped them secure cash out refinance, pay off their debt, which allowed their family to hit a much-needed financial reset button. So, before calling Doug and Christine were drowning financially, living off their credit cards. They might have been about to lose their homes, but after calling Team Hochberg, they were debt-free and able to support their family. Team Hochberg has helped thousands of WCPT listeners refinance their homes after forbearance. Again, you might not have the credit you need. They can help you to get that right. They can help you to establish credit, fix your credit, work with you when you've had financial problems. So many people have had them. They want to eliminate your debt with a cash out refinance like they helped Doug and Rachel and so many thousands of others. Call them at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or 56david.com. Again, the number is 855-563-2843 or 855-56-DAVID, or visit them at 56david.com. Homeside Financial, equal housing lender, everybody. All right, so what did you think about President Biden yesterday? Let me tell you, Legal Q&A with CK, we're so glad to have you back. Number one, Happy New Year, Attorney CK Hoffler. You've got a tremendous panel lined up to talk about our voting rights. And, and I said, this is tailor-made for you today, because when you became president of the NBA, you said, when you were running, you said, at the center, at the heart of my presidency will be the fight for voting rights. I was like, whoa. You were like, no, we're coming into an election season, and if we do not have our voting rights secured, nothing else matters. CK Hoffler, what did you think of the speech yesterday?
Well, first of all, good morning, Santita, and to all the guests and to your audience. I thought that President Biden was on fire. I thought that Vice President Harris was on fire. So I thought that if the goal was to express passion now about voting rights, then he accomplished that. The only reservation that I had was I would have liked that sense of urgency and fire and passion to have happened sooner, because we are in crisis here. We are in an absolute voting rights crisis. And so while I applaud the president for speaking with the level of passion, I feel that we've got to go much further. This is the first step. I wish it had happened sooner, but it is the first step of many steps. And every single day from this point forward of his administration, he has to make voting rights a priority. It's just that simple. Otherwise, the Democrats will not win across the board in the midterm elections. Senator Raphael Warnock, who should win in Georgia with the voter suppression, we don't know what will happen unless we make this a priority. And the Democrats will lose the tenuous position that they have right now in the Senate. And by the way, if things were turned around, they could gain a seat or two, so we wouldn't have to rely on Senators Manchin and Sinema. So I think a lot is on the hook. I think President Biden did a good job with his speech, but it's a little late, but better late than never. So I'm optimistic, better late than never, but I really, I happen to be in Florida. Had I been in Georgia, there was a lot of controversy, and a lot of people felt some kind of way because they felt that the president has not held up to his mission to support the African-American community. This was at the top of the agenda. It was articulated as being at the top of the agenda when the African-American community saved his campaign in South Carolina, led by Congressman Clyburn. So I think that there's a lot going on, and I think now is the time to act. Actions will speak much louder than words, and this still, Santita, remains at the top of my agenda of social justice, because until our rights are secured to vote, we will never be free. Never.
Well, you know what? You've got a tremendous panel. You've got Attorney Darrell Jones, chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition. Dwight McKee said he wanted to hang out with us a little bit. We've got Latasha Brown, who's going to be with us at the bottom of the hour. And, of course, David Daly, the author of Rat Effed, Attorney C.K. Hoffler, and Unrigged. You know what's so interesting about his books, Attorney Hoffler, is that they outline. Well, you know, Dwight was with us in the previous segment, Dr. D, and he said, you know, look, this has been a strategy for decades, going back to the late 60s, early 70s. But what David's books pick up on are, you know, where we saw this strategy amped up after President Obama won, CK. You know, we saw that. So, you know, David, what are your thoughts on the speech? David Daly?
He's still on the line.
Okay. I'm sorry. 2 years into this, you'd think I'd learn how to take off mute, right?
It's okay.
Gosh.
It's okay.
Good morning, everybody. I completely echo what my friend just analyzed. The president yesterday said he was tired of being quiet. We've all been tired of him being quiet on this issue for the last year as well. Because while he's been quiet, Republicans around the country and state legislatures in the most important swing states, Georgia, Arizona, Texas, Florida, have been passing new voter suppression bills. They have been gerrymandering congressional and state legislative maps to entrench themselves in power for the next decade. And they've been undermining the work of election administrators in such a way that they are setting themselves up to have January 6th, 2025 be the day that they imagine January 6th, 2021 would be. It's looking like a dress rehearsal for what they will try to do next time. We are running out of time to do something. The urgency has got to be there right now. So it's tremendous to have the president back in this fight. Back in July, he went to Philadelphia and said that this is the crisis that most reminds him of the Civil War. He used that kind of urgency in his rhetoric back in July, and then sort of disappeared from this conversation. And so we need the bully pulpit of the presidency every single day to be shining a light on what is happening around this country and what the dangers are. Because if not, we are on the verge of no longer recognizing this country. And it sounds like hyperbole, but when you look at what is happening in state legislatures around the country, we are an election or two away from looking like Hungary.
Oh, okay. Attorney Darrell Jones, an election or two away from looking like Hungary. Ooh.
Well, you know, good morning, Santita.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
It's going to be a Happy New Year, and it's going to be an exciting discussion. You know, my take on President Biden's speech is somewhat similar to what CK has presented. I thought that he delivered a phenomenal speech, a great speech, hit on a lot of key points. Here's the problem. The problem is the speech should have been given from the Senate floor, not from the Morehouse grounds. You know, the focus needs to be on the members of the Senate and getting in there to the Senate members to protect the right to vote. That's where you had many of the leaders of many of the local Georgia groups that were down there, the voting rights groups, that said, we're not attending. Because This isn't a speech that you need to give here in Georgia. We got it. In Georgia, we were on the ground in Georgia during the runoff election. We got it in Georgia. We understand that we've got to work hard to get the vote out. They worked hard. They got the vote out. They got Ossoff. They got Warnock in office. And the response now is, well, the bar is going to be raised. We need you to jump higher. Don't come to Georgia telling Georgia, and the close to the quote, Santita, is, your ancestors got there. They sat in the seats where you're sitting, and they got in the streets, and they voted, and they pushed. The Morehouse kids, the college students, all the folks down in Georgia, they did this. Right now, the question for the president is, will you do the same level of commitment in the White House in dealing with Build Back Better that you need to do with voting rights? That's the question. That's the reason that many of the voting rights groups were boycotting that speech. Right speech, perfect speech, wrong place. The audience has got to be the members of the U.S. Senate. That's the reason why you have faith leaders across the country that are now leading a hunger strike. That's the reason why you have UNPAC, that's UN, Political Action Committee, a group of students from across the country that are coming to D.C. this Thursday to pick up on their hunger strike. That's the reason why Joe Madison is on day, 68, 69 of his hunger strike. It's not about delivering the speech to Georgia. It's about getting the Senate to act. Wonderful speech. The problem is wrong place. Did you know, Santita, we're talking about Georgia, so I'm going to go a little deep. In Lincoln County, Georgia, while President Biden is delivering the speech over at Morehouse, while he's delivering that speech in Lincoln County, Georgia, a county that's 28% African American, they have reduced their polling places from 7 down to 1, which is going to require everyone to drive at a minimum 15 minutes to get to a polling place. Why do I emphasize drive? Because they don't have Uber. They don't have Lyft. They don't have a taxi. They have no public transportation. So if you want to vote in Lincoln County, Georgia, you've got to drive 15 minutes. That's a direct result of what the Republican General Assembly in Georgia has done down there to make it more difficult to vote. So when I say it's the right speech, the wrong place, don't come to Georgia telling Georgia what Georgia's dealing with and how to overcome. Go to the U.S. Senate because it's the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act that needs to be passed. It's the Freedom to Vote Act that needs to be passed. Morehouse students aren't going to do it. Southern students can't do it. This is the members of the U.S. Senate. That's where the focus needs to be. Great speech, wrong place. Get into the bullpit. He had over 130 meetings to try to pass Build Back Better. At that time, he had some 20 meetings to talk about voting rights. Put the pressure on the U.S. Senate to get it done. He knows how to do it. He's a member of the U.S. Senate. So great speech, wrong place. We need to be certain that those words and the words of Joe Lowry, that the words that President Biden delivered become deeds that meet the needs of the voting community across this country, and that begins by him going into the Senate and demanding those meetings, bringing them into the White House. Go to the Senate floor and deliver that speech, Santita. Not Georgia. Go to the Senate floor.
Wait a minute, go to Joe Manchin's office. How about that? I got you. I want you to call me at 773-763-9278. Andre from Chicago, what's on your mind, sweetie?
Hey, good morning to you, Santita. How you doing?
It's great hearing your voice.
And good. Thank you for taking this call. I want to start off about addressing your prior point when you talk about the speech. I thought the speech was excellent for more reasons than one. Number one, it motivated the base. Number two, it educated a whole generation of young blacks that was out there that knew nothing about Edmund Pettus. They knew nothing about Bull Connor. They knew nothing about this. So it was a history lesson for them. And I actually don't like it when the white is always sounding pessimistic and sad. We need black folk to be motivated. He's always pessimistic with his comments and saying things. Now, look for the positive in things and be optimistic. And, and a lot of time I listen to your show, but I don't call because it sounds just so pessimistic with the white sometimes. I got something positive out of this speech. It ain't the answer to everything, but it is a beginning. It's motivational, it's inspirational, and it's educational.
Okay, well, why don't we let Dwight respond to you? Dwight, I have a couple of minutes before we have to go.
It's all those things, but it's not strategic. That's not pessimism. That's objective. They just outline what a strategy is. If you're trying to get something done, if you're trying to get this, if we're looking for motivation, then the fact that they're taking away our rights is motivation, is almost motivation enough. If you need more motivation than that to fight, then something's wrong with you. But a speech is not a strategy. We need to sit down, like he said, we need to go to the Senate and look at how we can peel off those guys who can be negotiable in that.
You don't know if that's being done or not, though.
Huh?
You don't know if that's being done or not, though. You don't know if they trying to peel off those senators like that. You know, you can't keep moving the goalposts. Black folks seem like they're never satisfied. Like B.B. King, how blue can you get? You understand? You can't keep. You do one thing, you say that ain't enough.
No, but Andre,
I'll put it further. But
okay.
Just frustrating, Santita. I don't mean no disrespect, but just watch this.
Well, hold on, let him finish. I'm sorry, Andre. What were you saying, Andre? Andre, hold on. I'm trying to let you speak. Okay, and I'm trying to let you speak by yourself. Okay. All right.
Okay. You ready for me?
Yeah.
Okay, so all I was saying is that it would have been better if the terminology, it would have been better if he gave me the Senate. Not that he would say it at the wrong place. Don't say he gave the speech the wrong place. Just say you would have preferred it better if it was in the Senate. It would have been more effective in the Senate. That's all I'm saying. Just being positive, optimistic. That's where I'm taking. But yeah, it was educational, inspirational, motivational. Those young black people that was out there that was they know about Bull Connor. It raised their curiosity. So now they're going to go and be a better person as a result of that speech and be a better informed younger generation.
Well, I tell you what, if they're learning about Bull Connor from Joe Biden, that's a problem. Because this is where we have to teach our... No. I'm going to hold on to this, Andre. We've got to teach our children... No, hold on. We've got to teach our children the history. My Jewish friends go to Hebrew school. They do not depend upon anybody else to teach them about their own history. So if they learned about Bull Connor, and I doubt that those kids did, the people at the AU Center, Atlanta University Center. But if you're going to learn about your history from President Biden, no, that's not good enough. But I hear you, and I appreciate we appreciate your weighing in because it's very important. You said that you want.
Right, Santita.
I'm sorry.
You're right about what you said. You're right. I agree with you 100%. We shouldn't depend on nobody else to teach us.
No, we need to start teaching our history, and you know what? We need to start having a strategy.
You're absolutely right.
And I don't think it's wrong for us to say, you know what? I wish it had been done in Washington, and these are the reasons why. That's not we can't slide back to what we were doing in 2008. Part of the problem that we had was that we don't know how to criticize respectfully and lovingly. And when we don't do that, we lose. We lose. You've got to be able to engage in loving critique, Andre. That's got to happen. Otherwise, you're just walking around telling the emperor that they got clothes on when they are butt naked. That's not going to work. Got to be able to say, hey, you know what? Tweak this. You don't need to talk to me. You need to talk to Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski. You need to peel off some of them. Because I already got it. I'm the one who can't vote. I'm the one who has to wait in line for 12, 16 hours. That was in Georgia. So I think it's a both and, Andre, but I hear you. More of the Santita Jackson Show. Taking your calls at 773-763-9278, 773-763. WCPT, Bob and Chaparral. I cannot wait to hear what you've got to say to weigh in with the panel here on Legal Q&A with CK. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a few minutes. Right on time. All right, everybody. Okay, Dwight, you got wrapped on your knuckles a bit.
Didn't bother me at all.
I'm joking with you, right? Okay. I know. Well, everybody's got opinions, right? So I get that. I mean,
Bob just dropped.
Oh, okay.
But Chaparral's still on.
Oh, I know Chaparral's gonna hold on.
Speak to that. I like to hear some of the other panels speak to that because I think they were right on in terms of that speech needs to be somewhere else.
But I mean, David, what do you think, David? Daryl? Somebody? I mean, do you think that?
I think it needs to be somewhere else, but I think it needs to be at a different time too. Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah.
So you don't think you don't think Dwight? You don't think the panel, because you are all saying the same thing. You don't think that you're being, but he was coming to you, Dwight, because you are a social scientist. So you do come with some objectivity. But boy, Daryl, you just drilled in. What do you think about what he said?
Well, I think there's a time where he's right that you have to teach students. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. But the students aren't.
Okay, I'm sorry, Matt. I need you to bring the radio down a bit. Okay, Daryl.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but the focus on this was not simply teaching students. The focus on this was strongly political. This is about getting these pieces of legislation passed.
Ms. Brown is ready to go.
Voting on that are the U.S. senators. That's why that speech needed to be delivered to the U.S. Senate. You can go back and have, again, and CK certainly can speak to this greatly, and those that are in Georgia, but the students in Georgia, the people in Georgia, they get it. You don't need to fire them up. They've been fired up. But what you need to do is that focus needs to be on the Senate. So I appreciate what he was trying to say. But the whole focus of it has got to be on the U.S. Senate, not on re-educating. Yeah, and I think most Morehouse students are going to know about all the legislation that's out there, and they're going to be on top of the social issues and the voting issues. But the focus here has got to be more on the U.S. Senate, and that's just where he fell short. It's just the wrong place. Right speech, wrong place.
Well, this is going to be very interesting. Oh, and Laura Bell, Chaparral, when you come on, she said that your cookies were excellent. She loves them. Hello, Laura. I've been waiting for my cookies. Chaparral makes some of the best food. When you come to Chicago, we're going to have to get you some, Daryl. You're going to love it. You will love it. I'll have to get you a bib.
I want to encourage her to do some sweet potato biscuits.
Oh, you're digging in the crates. I love it. Okay. Latasha Brown.
Just under a minute.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm glad we caught you in between everybody else grabbing you today. We've got your friend C.K. Hoffler, Attorney C.K. Hoffler, and Attorney Daryl Jones.
Hey. You got my favorite freedom fighters over there.
And David Daly.
Hi, David.
David actually just dropped. I'll try and reestablish.
No. That's okay. That's fine. Okay, and we've got callers too. So there you go. So, and we've got your favorite protagonist, antagonist, Dwight McKee.
That's right. How you doing, Brother Dwight? Real deal, Holyfield.
10 seconds.
I missed the Troublemaker crew.
Girl, we missed you. But you're out there making good trouble, so we're not mad at you. Hold on.
Change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. Hey, Regina Hill from the West Coast, and Twyla from Alabama, and Philip from Pennsylvania, and everybody from all over the country and all over the world. My buddy Abraham, my sweetie from Venezuela, I love you. And my brothers and sisters from Brazil, love you. Sending you much love. Let's talk about the vote. Everybody all over the world wants to know, just what America's going to do about the vote. And of course, this is Legal Q&A with CK. We've got Attorney Darrell Jones, the chairman of the board of the Transformative Justice Coalition, brilliant civil rights lawyer. We just had David Daley, the author. I want you to get his books, Unrigged and Rat F. You've got to get those books. Got Dr. D, Dwight McKee, brilliant social scientist. And we, of course, Attorney C.K. Hoffler, we have your guest is someone who is a favorite of yours, someone. You are two of the greatest freedom fighters I know. You have been working with her. You've represented her. Who's up for us right now, Attorney C.K. Hoffler?
Well, we've got, when the history books are written about freedom fighters in this country, but in Georgia, who've made a difference for voters, actually throughout this country, but I just love the impact in Georgia. We talk about Natasha Brown. We talk about the incredible impact that she's had day in and day out. Her passion, her diligence, her tenacity every single day is what we need to see coming from the administration every day. Not peaked one time, not a great speech, but every single day if the rights of voters are to be protected. So I think that, Latasha, there's no better person to speak to the plight of voters in Georgia in light of all of the shenanigans that are taking place there. And to put in context, President Biden's speech, quite frankly.
Okay. Latasha Brown, you were not at the speech yesterday. You and other people who've been working on the ground elected not to go. Talk to me about the speech, why you decided not to go, and what the next steps are before we go to these callers who are eager to speak with you.
I hear good morning, everybody. I just want to say a special shout out. Thank you. My lawyer make me sound so good. I guess that's how you keep us out of jail, isn't it? So thank you. So thank you, CK. I appreciate you, sister, so much. And my brother Darrell, who is always listening. This brother is always on the front line, Transformative Justice Coalition. I can go on and on about the folks on here, so I am in good company. But I did not attend several of the groups in Georgia. It wasn't. Let me be clear up front. Our intention was not to be antagonistic. Our intention was not to be combative, but our intention was to be serious, to actually say that we were not attending. Some folks have used the word boycott. We didn't boycott the meeting. We chose and decided not to attend the meeting, to attend the speech on yesterday, because we actually think that we need more than speeches at this moment, that many of our national partners and groups attended it, and we were in support of their decision to attend. We, as the Georgia groups, the groups that have been fighting on the ground nonstop, I need people to understand is that we're fighting nonstop. Even on yesterday, while the speech was happening, we had people on the ground in Lincoln County, Georgia, which is a county where you have a sizable black, a 30% African-American population, is a rural county, no public transportation. Right now, the Republicans are seeking to close every single polling site in that county with the exception of one. So you're going to have one polling site to service the entire county, in a county where there's no public transportation, and a county where economically it is a rural and a poor county. And so we are saying that the fight is real, that we have allowed a lot of time to lapse. The administration has allowed a lot of time to lapse. A lot of momentum has dissipated, and so now is the time for action. And so what I will say about the speech, I thought it was a good speech. I thought it was a good speech. I think many of the elements. What I will say is movement wrote that speech. Everything that was in that, the things that were in that speech around carving out and killing the filibuster. Many of our folks, including Brother Darrell right there, has gotten arrested multiple times, like literally, because that's what we've been asking for months. We've been asking for months for there to be a consideration that the White House would use the fullness of its power to really be able to say, there is a priority for voting rights. And so those are elements. What I will say is that I am glad that the president is finally listening to us, but we wanted to make it clear that this ain't the era that Black people are going to be okay with coming to our schools, our communities, doing a photo op, that this is an area that voting rights is a serious issue for us. And we believe that literally that what is going to really make and put power behind your words are the actions. And so we are cautiously optimistic that that the president will actually put the actions behind his words. But the truth of the matter is we're a year out. This is 1 year out immediately. Last year on this day, I remember where it was. You know where I was? Last year on this day, I was moving my family, my family were moving back from a safe house, preparing to come back home because I could not be in my own house, nor my partner, Cliff Albright, because there was credible threats to us and our families based on the work that we had done for Georgia. So for us, this isn't about just a policy piece. This isn't just about who's popular. This is really around we have put our lives, our families, our safety on the line. And listen, we ain't the only ones. The folks on this call, like the legacy of Reverend Jackson, the legacy of Dr. King and others, we're clear that we are in the space of that legacy, but we also are clear that at this moment in time, the way that Black voters and voters, quite frankly, quote, voters all over this country are being attacked, that this isn't just about a bill. There is a concerted effort to undermine democracy in this country so that a minority group of people that have decided to have an agenda that's rooted in racism and division and lies can actually continue to hold this process in a way that advantages them. And so what we're saying is part of the reason why I didn't attend is because I took a stand not based on popularity, but a stand based on principle. I thought at this moment, as a Georgia group, the work that we needed to do, we wanted to send and elevate a message that it's important that we're really serious, that as we're doing this work, that we are serious about what it is that we want and we expect. You know, the not only just the speech, but also the actions. If there's anybody that has worked to actually help this administration to actually provide, and when we're talking about the Senate seats, the work that we did in the 2020 election, we want this administration to be successful. We want that agenda, but we also want to make sure that our issues are not pushed to the back burner, which often happens in these elections.
Everybody call us at 773. But you know, someone's been holding for you. She's been holding for you. For you, Latasha Brown. Chaparral, what's on your mind today?
Hey, good morning, Santita. Thank you so much for taking my call. Listen, I have been waiting for, sorry, now the baby's up. I have been waiting for Latasha because I saw the speech and I just felt that he was gaslighting all of Black America. He is once again putting the onus on these elections and these results on Black people. And I felt that he was like saying, niggers, now I need you to go out here and vote again. And I'm not going to get nothing done for y'all. But the niggers, y'all see I came out here, laid a wreath on Dr. King's grave, and niggers, I need y'all to do what I need y'all to do. So I hope that everybody on this channel realize that he is putting all
Wait a minute, stop,
election.
Chaparral. Wait a minute. Gotta get a laugh break. Everybody go on.
I had to go on mute for a second because I'm
telling you, the niggers that is going to be responsible.
Continue, Chaparral.
The Democrats. I'm saying that he's putting on the niggers to see if they are going to be the owners of winning this election. I'm serious, Santita. That's all I heard.
I'm not kidding.
I need you to go out there.
No, I'm not.
I didn't hear nothing he said. I was waiting for him to say, we're going to support the George Floyd Act. I'm waiting for him to say we're going to cancel student loan debt. He didn't say none of that. All I heard, everything he was saying, it was like Charlie Brown talking to me because I know he is gaslighting America. And I'm glad that y'all boycotted Latasha. But now, what is the strategy? What is the game plan going forward? Now he done gave a speech. Now he done did all of this. So what are we going to do? Because I know y'all not going to tell me to sit out
Y'all gonna tell me to hold my nose again and vote for him, and I need to know what is the strategy. Because we got to get some changes around here. I am a parent of a murder victim who still have unsolved crimes in Chicago. We have gone through police brutality. We have gone and lived through that. And so these things, not only voting rights, but the George Floyd Police Reform Act is very important to all of us. And so we have to say, no, not only this thing that we want it all. I want the kid in caboodle, because that's what y'all told me to do. Vote for him, and we're going to get the kid in caboodle. I'm waiting on it. And that's what we need to force him to do. Let me tell you what I missed most about your show, Santita, is Chappelle. Because I don't know who is going to find Chappelle for her own show to take on the road, but the level of rawness and truth and I often enjoy. So good morning, Sister Chappelle. Thank you for calling. I think there's a couple of points. Seriously, I think that there's a couple of points that you raised. I think let me say this, that I am, because the other thing is, I want to be clear. We don't believe, or I don't believe, that Biden is our enemy. I believe, let me be real clear, I'm not going to let the Republicans off the hook. There is an effort right now being led by the Republicans, and we all, the Republicans, to literally marginalize, to be able to win these elections by the same kind of strategy that the Dixiecrats, that literally got them to, when the Dixiecrats switched over and became Republicans, they literally brought that foolishness in the 60s. That fundamentally there is an effort, and part of what they want to do is like literally push out the Democratic piece so we can implode. And they literally are like, it's almost like, because we have such low expectations for them, like no expectations for them, that they get off the hook. No. This is actually being fueled, fed, organized, and led by the Republicans. And there's like no question about that. However, the one thing about racism is that's the one issue in this country that is truly bipartisan. That at the end of the day, what we see is a fair amount of racism. Is there's enough in this country that is spread around throughout the entire political structure, and oftentimes, which I'm hearing Chappelle's frustration, that is what we're hearing on the ground. That's what we've been saying to the White House, right? That's what we've been saying when we've been going on meetings in the Hill, meeting in the Senate and the Congress. What we're saying is, what are you going to deliver for the people? Because the people deliver for you. So what is it that you're going to deliver for the people? If we're allowing this process, what we feel part of it is, while I believe, while I thought that the speech was a good speech, the challenge is around the timing. That's a speech that I had hoped to hear last year. That immediately that came out of where we had the momentum of voters right coming off the election. So you had all of this momentum of Democratic voters who had just made history in this nation, that you literally, then we came up and saw the insurrection happening in January, that all of those things, we thought that was the moment to actually take a stand and say, no. Voters who actually came out and voted are not going to be punished because that's what they voted for. Immediately we saw SB 202 enacted in Georgia, which basically restricts voting rights and makes the process harder. Matter of fact, as a Black voter from Georgia, I've got less protection now than I did last year. So here it is. I helped deliver. I am one of millions of people that put an administration in place that not only gave them the road to the White House and resuscitated a candidate and helped make a clear path to him, but also give him 2 senators to flip a state. Right, that literally the entire runoff system was designed to marginalize our participation in it. And here it is that I am feeling the brunt of. And a party has more power, but here I, as a voter, as a Black voter in Georgia, have less protection. And so I think that that's the real deal. That's just facts. That can't even be argued. That's just the truth. That's facts. But I also believe that part of the process, let me say this to us, and this is the listeners out there, that if democracy will be real, we got to make it be real. Movement has always understood that at the end of the day, that we can't put people in office and then not expect to hold them accountable. that there is no power that concedes without a demand. And so as we're going to have to keep, and we will continue, we have to understand and see accountability as part of the process. And those who have good intentions, instead of them getting all flustered around it, they understand the process. They understand that literally that the voters, if they put you in office, that there are some expectations. The problem is that folks have been able to get away with that for so long in our community. That is, for so long, it's been about, if you come to our churches, if you invite us to the party, that if you say that I'm going to get to you, it is okay. Matter of fact, Dr. King wrote a whole book around it called Why We Can't Wait. Right, that constantly Black people are being told that we have to show up when it is needed. I often say that there's a priority on when white voters want something, they get priority. We get promises. What we're saying is we're shifting that paradigm. That at the end of the day, there is no question that this administration, I want them to be successful because there are agenda items that we won't pass. I want them to actually be able to have power to pass the George Floyd Act. I want to make sure that they actually can pass and get the economic plan passed that will to help all folks in this country. But I also recognize that we have to hold their feet to the fire to make sure that something happens for the benefit of our community.
Let me go to you, Renee. Renee, what's on your mind?
Good morning.
Hey, Renee.
Thanks for taking my call.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I just quickly wanted to say that I saw his speech as being more symbolism than substance, since he's in a state talking to the people who are having their votes disenfranchised, the people who need his help. He's there instead of being in Washington talking to the people who could change the situation so the people won't be disenfranchised. He should have been in Washington, not Georgia. He could have invited some people from the organizations in Georgia to come sit in the chambers of the Senate as he told them about the importance of passing these laws. I just finished walking, so I'm out of breath.
It's okay.
But that's all I wanted to say.
No, I mean, that is a lot. Well, let me pass this around, CK, around the panel, because Daryl, your thoughts, because people are taking exception. Some people are taking exception with these on the ground organizers, and that's my tradition, who chose not to go to this speech yesterday to highlight what else needs to be done. I was like, wait a minute, it's not just I want you to succeed, I need you to. This ain't about love, Daryl. This is politics. I need some things done.
Mm-hmm. And you're absolutely right, Santita. This is politics. This isn't, they're not playing by the Queensberry rules where everybody's very nice to each other and they're curtsying and bowing and getting permission, letting them know what they're going to do. So while this speech is being delivered by President Biden, the boots on the ground, the voting rights groups in Georgia are dealing with situations like in Lincoln County. They're dealing with the Georgia legislation Georgia Assembly's in place right now. They're trying to reduce ballot box, drop boxes even more in Georgia. So, the focus isn't right now on the president coming to Georgia to deliver a speech to the citizens of Georgia. They're in the throes of the battle. So the voting rights groups are in the field. They're fighting because they know what's coming down, so they're preparing for that fight. What they're asking for is the person that they voted for overwhelmingly in the state of Georgia to get in D.C., get to the U.S. Senate, get the senators that need to be on board, so that the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act can be passed. That's not going to happen from the boots on the ground. And in Georgia's doing what they have to do to preserve what they have built to this point and trying to prepare for the onslaught of what's being passed by the Georgia Assembly now. Don't go focusing on them and ask them why they're not taking time to go and sit and listen to the president talk about, what they've accomplished and the words that I use, Santita, as I say that, what's happening is that We're watching the hurdle being raised for black and brown and young voters to be able to vote in Georgia and across the country. And what needs to happen is that we don't need a cheerleader to say, jump higher, you can make it over this hurdle. We need someone who's going to lead to say, let's remove this hurdle of voter suppression that's across this country. That's why the voting groups, the on-the-ground voters in Georgia are out there pushing for the people, the individuals, the everyday person to know what they need to do to be able to exercise their franchise and be able to vote. That's what they're doing. That's why they're not calling it a boycott, but that's why they didn't attend President Biden's speech. They want the president to go and get the voting hurdle removed from the U.S. Senate. You're not going to do that from Georgia. Do that from D.C. That's what they're saying.
You only have like 3 minutes left, CK. Do with them what you will.
Oh, this is what I will say. First of all, thanks to all the guests, but Santita, we are in a crisis. Every single day, from now until the end, until there's a Voting Rights Act passed, the president has to make it his business at the top of the agenda to do everything that it will take. You talk to the Senate, go across the aisle, do all the things that people say you're famous for doing, President Biden, and make this happen. No excuses, no more speeches, no more talking. Get it done. Corral the troops. You know how to do it. We did it you did it for the infrastructure. You did it. Get rid, modify, do whatever you need to do to filibuster, but get it done. That is the only solution. Everything else, as far as I'm concerned, is just talk is cheap, and we can't afford talk being cheap. We are in a crisis of a very significant magnitude that we didn't need to be in. And living in Florida, in Georgia. I'm in Florida today on business, but living in Georgia, being one of those people who sat in the line during COVID for hours, and knowing that it's going to be worse, we need right now action. No more talk, action. We know what the agenda is. We know how to get it done. It just needs to get done. And anything short of that is just going to be a further disaster.
Dwight?
And then across the board, losses in the midterm elections and definitely a loss in the next presidential election. And that's what I think.
You got to stop playing. And I am not going to cede my right to engage in loving critique. I'm not going to do that. You can't play with people. You can't play. Otherwise, don't call me on the day that it's time to vote when they won't let you vote. Because that's coming for everybody. Dwight, I literally have about 45 seconds for you. Dwight?
When the tornado hit the South, the president didn't go down there with Joel Osteen. He went down there with FEMA. He wasn't trying to inspire the people. He was leaving them a plan to get out of that situation. The day of inspiration for us is over. We're already inspired, which is why Latasha them registered so many people to vote. We need a plan. We need results. We need a strategy, not a speech, a strategy.
Latasha, the last 30 seconds are yours.
I will say, we who believe in freedom shall not rest until it comes. That if democracy is to be so, we will make it be so. As a native of Selma, Alabama, I will just say that those 100 people that were on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, they didn't have politics on their side. They didn't have a party that was looking out for them. They didn't have resources. What they did, though, is they believed in their humanity, and they believed that they were going to stand in that, and they were going to have voting rights. It didn't matter what the other side looked like. It didn't matter who was in the Senate. It didn't matter whether there was a Strong Thurman or Manchin or Sinema. They were going to be relentless, and I think we have to have the same attitude, carry the same spirit, and the same fight. If we do that, y'all, we work together, we will win.
Amen, 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 everybody. Fight, 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 fight. Power concedes nothing without demand. It never did. It never will. In politics, before you get who you want, make sure you get what you need. Get it up front. That's the way politics works. Stop falling in love. Have these candidates fall in line with your priorities. I'm Santita Jackson. Can't wait to be with you tomorrow. Matt, get those sniffles together, my sweet. Thank you for a great show, everybody. God bless you. going to talk for a couple more minutes here on the Santita Jackson and Friends page and on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, just to get some more fuller closing thoughts from this tremendous panel. God bless you, everybody. Love you. Can't wait to be with you tomorrow, God willing. Beautiful people, do you all have anything else you want to say? I mean, I think that you all have already scorched my airwaves. Well, the airwaves that I occupied 14 hours.
Well, Santita, I mean, just think about it. This is getting to be ridiculous. But I do believe we have to do it together. But we need the leadership every single day to make it a priority. When you get up in the morning, you should say, good morning, voting rights. That's what we're about to do today, is we are going to do everything we can to pass it. And I'm going to talk to X number of people. That is a level of intensity, just like with the infrastructure bill. There was that level of intensity, and that is what is required, because there is a lot of skepticism. And I think that the only way to kill the skepticism is to just act. Just get it done. Do everything. And people will support the getting it done, but people are not going to support the shucking and jiving or anything else short of that, which is what people perceive. It's unfortunate. And I'm someone who believes he is our president. I'm going to support that is supporting what is on our agenda. And this is at the top of the agenda. And he is the one, his team, his group, his whatever, his all of that to get it done. He's demonstrated he can get it done. He did this speech. Maybe it's wrong place, wrong time, but he did it. So now put the actions in place so that people don't say talk is cheap. Just do it. I mean, that's what we have to do. Every day we got to get up and just do it. So that's what we're saying. Just do it.
So, Tasha, are you still there? Daryl?
Yeah, I'm here. I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, who would be actually talking about what we did if we almost tried, kind of sort of thought about it and supported him, but he didn't win? Like, at the end of the day, we delivered in spite of COVID, in spite of all the voter suppression that was already in place, in spite of people standing in line 9, 10, 11 hours, we endured and we got it done. And so all we're saying is we've created the best circumstances to deliver, right? Like the president, you once said that you've been in the Senate and you know the Senate better than anybody. He was there for 4 decades. So I do expect that you would know how to wrangle two folks. And I mean, he in his own speech, in his own speech, he said that he was the one that convinced Strom Thurmond. So now I'm thinking to myself, so Manchin is harder to move than Strom Thurmond? Perhaps he is, but then call him out. Right, and then in addition to that,
and wait a minute, and call him out in those terms. Say, I moved Strom Thurmond, and I can't move you. Put it out there.
Why are you protecting him? If you're telling me you move Strom Thurmond and you can't move him, then we got a problem. And I'm saying, well, who is this guy? Call him out. But aside from that, let me say this. And let me say what the president did do that I do give him credit for. I think it takes a lot of courage and character to at least acknowledge that you've been wrong. One of the things that he said in the speech was, I've been silent too long. That's all we've been saying, that you have been silent. He admitted that he has been silent on the issue. Now, it's unfortunate that that's the issue that you've been silent on. And if anybody looked last night at Lawrence O'Donnell on MSNBC, he literally laid out and said that part of what it was always the president and this administration, that they always had voting rights to deal with in 2022. That his idea was that they were going to do the infrastructure, they were going to build back better, and then they were going to get to the voting rights. Now, I'm not sure. This is what he reported last night around that the folks around him, that it was open and people knew about this. Not only have we been saying that, and that's what we suspected, but in many ways, think about how disrespectful that is and how problematic it is. So in many ways, whatever the hill that they got this year, in the midterms, they created that hill. Last year, you had the momentum of voters behind you at the beginning of the year, right? You had all of these things that were happening that you could use that momentum. But oftentimes, when it comes to a political agenda and issue items, our agenda items are not seen as a priority for that moment. And so what we see is what we saw and what we're seeing right now. So as my grandmama said, you got to sleep in the bed that you lying in. So what the pressure that is mounting up on him right now and the Democrats in the Senate to deliver, right? And now that a part of your own base is frustrated, they created that circumstance.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm not crying. I don't feel sad. I'm like, now you got to work this out. Because guess what? Everybody gets their deliverables delivered.
Right.
I mean, I'm tired of this. And we ought to be tired of it because, I mean, we had CK on the phone during the election season, during the primaries, while she's waiting for hours and hours and hours. This is ridiculous. And the majority are being gerrymandered out of power, state by state by state. And the Democrats are doing nothing to address that. It is just shameful. I'm like, are y'all in collusion?
It is shameful. We are literally, it's almost as if when we're talking about black voters, you know, at the end of the day, so it's almost like you got to find the cow, you got to feed the cow, you got to kill the cow, you got to cook the cow, and then you look at the white people to eat the steak.
But you know what? You know what this reminds me of? When Reverend was running in 1983. Okay? Dual registration. I mean, polling places that were not open. Because, you know, then you had to register twice. Well, 3 times. Twice. You had to register in the locality and in the county seat. So people had to take. The Democratic Party. Daryl, CK, Latasha.
There's people in Georgia who don't have access to the internet. If you don't have access to the internet, as we know from the last presidential election in Georgia and rural areas, you can't even check your status. You don't even know what's going on if you've been purged. Remember that litigation?
Oh, yeah.
Latasha and Daryl, that right before the runoff? You don't even know if you've been purged. That's still an issue. That's going to remain an issue. By the way, I got a little card saying something about I moved or something. I haven't moved. I just want to see how that plays out. I can't wait to get back to Georgia and address that. But the thing is, every single day, there's more suppression. So this has got to stop. It's got to be done. And now it really does. It's a crisis. It's a crisis. And it has impact. You know, we've seen all of these cases, some very favorable verdicts. And Latasha, you were there. Daryl, Transformative Justice, you, Barbara, all over these issues that are related. Because if you're not registered to vote, you can't serve on the jury. So all of this is related. If you've been purged, you will not be called for jury duty because you're not registered to vote. So, I mean, it's all related. It really is.
Absolutely.
It is, and there's another part around this, I think, that is so insidious that we've got to really deal with. That if any time standard being created, that when people vote for a party, a person, whoever, that there are repercussions, that they're punished for the way that they vote or for who they voted for. Do we not understand the danger of that? What precedent that set? That is exactly, if anybody has studied democracies all around the globe, that is precisely what America quotes, defines as political corruption. That is literally, that's how democracies die. This is not just about this one legislative issue. Like, this isn't just about, okay, just a bill and X, Y, Z. Even once they pass the bill, it is not going to be enough. There's going to have to be other elements that are put in place. What we see now, just based on Manchin and Sinema, what we're seeing right now, that the fact that two white senators can literally, two people can actually hold up the wheel of millions of Americans, including stand as a barrier that of a lack of protection of their voting rights, then that system is structurally and fundamentally flawed. What this is actually pointing to is, in the meantime, we've got to do the harm reduction. So in the meantime, yes, we need this legislation, right? And as CK will tell you, we have been fighting all on fronts. We are fighting in the courtrooms. We're fighting in the streets. We're actually going to the White House. We've exhausted every element we can do, but we can't out-organize this. What is going to have to take, it is going to have to take a complete reformation of this electoral system in this country. We got to see what we're working with. That ultimately we have to create an entire new political landscape and structure. There's no reason why D.C. should not be a state right now. Why? There's no justification other than that is known as Chocolate City. There's no reason why Puerto Rico right now should not be a state. There's no reason why we have now have a Supreme Court that has been politicized. That is literally saying it is okay if you discriminate, long as we don't think your initial intention was to discriminate. But if the outcome is you discriminate, okay, we understand. Like, we have a Supreme Court that says that party issues, that you can actually draw a district in the best interest of the party, even if it's discriminatory to the people. That's where we are right now, y'all.
Absolutely. And we warned that we would head back here. We have to understand that this whole freedom fight is a dynamic one. It does not end. When people talk about, back in the civil rights states, this stuff never ended. It's crazy. Never ended. And it never ends. That's why Reverend at 80 with Parkinson's is doing everything he can. And he's going to fight until he gets out of here. Because that is what is required. And I'm not saying it's beyond him. Uncle Eddie was out there. Andrew Young was out there. This is what you do, because they know something. They saw Jim Crow. Oh my goodness! I hope we don't have to see it before we really get it. I fear that is what has happened, because that's where we are. You just wait till you get up to that polling place and they tell you can't vote. You just wait. It's coming. It's coming. You're getting purged, all of that. And then you want to tell me that I can't say anything? I should just jump up and down and be excited about what President Biden said? He did give an excellent speech, but I want to know the next steps. And I want to know what conversations he's having with Sinema, Manchin, Murkowski, Collins, Rand Paul. I want to know what conversations he's having with everybody, because he shouldn't be talking to 48 senators who are already on his side. I want to know what he's saying to the other 52. That's the conversation that I want to hear.
Well, Santita, it's 9:10 Eastern Standard Time. How many calls has he made thus far today?
How about that?
I mean, I'm saying it's that if we're going to be transparent, if we want really to get people energized and to be on board, then that's the level. Today, I talked to this, to that. His team, his word, his all of the people, social media that spread information, they need to know. It's got to be, I agree with Latasha Brown when she said his speech was as a response to a movement in many respects in terms of speech. Then let him continue that movement to the finish line.
And let's be clear. Not to interrupt you, but even though that's what I did, I didn't mean any harm. This is not going to be done politely around a table. This is done in the streets. We keep trying to apply sweet politics to street politics. This is a street fight. LBJ responded to what was happening in the streets. In the streets. That is where you have to have the movement. You have to keep pushing. Latasha, come on.
It's just the truth. It's the truth, which is why what we're saying is we've been doing our part. Do yours.
That's right.
Like we've been doing the work. We've continued the work. The work that we did was not about how we're going to give any political party more power. That's not what our work is about. We are literally trying to fundamentally change the material opportunities for our people in our communities. And even when people are like, well, what Black people want, we want what everybody else wants. I don't know why that is always a question what we want. What do you think we want? We want quality housing like everybody else wants. We want to get paid like everybody else want to get paid. We want jobs. Quality jobs where I go to work, I can pay my bills, I can live with my family. I want access to health care like everybody else. Right? I want my humanity recognized like everybody else.
But you know what, Latasha?
We ain't asking this country for nothing that ain't nobody else asking for. Matter of fact, I think in many ways we've asked this country for far less than what we're supposed to be asking them for.
I'm hoping Black people will ask for a little bit more. Because I'm asking to study war no more. I'm asking for an anti-imperialist agenda. That's what I'm saying. I'm asking for $700+ billion to be given to the American people and not to the Pentagon where they don't even ask for it. I want Black people to live up to their spiritual and historical mandate, which is to lift this country to higher heights spiritually. That's what I'm talking about, expanding the electorate. I'm talking about having a real democracy where you have a representative government, where you have Republicans, Democrats, Independents, and every other party in a coalition government, so you don't have everybody out and one person in. That's what Lonnie Guinier, God rest her soul, she argued for that. She said, we've got to mature our politics. That's why they didn't want her in the Department of Justice. They said, well, what do you mean? She said, no. You can't have I win, you lose politics. That's not how you grow a family. I got to get mine. And if I got the majority, okay, but I got to work with you because you are part of the body politic. Amen. What they do over in Britain is far more mature than what we're doing over here. This is foolishness, and they're playing. We have a republic. We do not have a democracy. They have more of a democracy with their constitutional monarchy than we have within our constitutional republic. Get out the box. I want Black folks to want more than a job. I want to have full for everybody and get equal high quality pay for everybody. Everybody had a job in slavery. I need more than that. I want these onerous loans taken off of people, whether they're student loans or housing loans. I want equal access to equal high quality health care and education and housing for everybody. Let's lift this up. I don't want to be like you. I didn't run out of Europe running away from a king and a queen. I was dragged here. So I got another mission. How about that? My mother says to me all the time, if God wanted us on top of that Mayflower, that's where he would have put us. We were put in the bowels of that ship. There were some things that we needed to learn and teach. Like no one should ever be enslaved. How about that? And no one should be paid slave wages. How about that? We still do that today. Just stop it. Grow up, America, and everybody else.
Well, I think I done heard my sermon word for today.
Girl, look, and don't come to me telling me what I already know. Go to these other 52 senators you need to convince. I'm with you on that. Go to them.
Right.
No, you talk to them. You talk to Morehouse, Spelman, Atlanta University, Clark, Atlanta University. You talk to the Black intelligentsia about voting. Are you for real? I mean, I love going to an HBCU. That's why I went to school. I get it. I think that's great. But you need to do what LBJ did. LBJ talked about the Voting Rights Act before Joint House of Congress. Am I wrong?
You are not wrong.
Oh, okay.
You are.
I'm just trying to follow. That's where he did that. And he said, we shall overcome from the well of the Congress.
Well, that's what some of us were suggesting.
Okay.
I mean, I actually think Imagine had that speech been a break-in in prime time. Like, make America listen to that. Black folks know everything he was saying yesterday.
Everything.
Like that. Like we know everybody that was sitting there, we know that, right? And so, who really should you be talking to about democracy? Like who needs to hear that conversation? So imagine if that speech had been delivered from the well of the Senate, or even in the Lincoln Room at the White House. The bottom line is there is a particular kind of safety, and I understand, around and having these spaces that we create in the Black community. The question is, who's going to create those safe spaces for us? We are welcoming. We create a space that say, yes, you can come in. We let folks in our churches because we recognize their humanity even when they differ from us. But who creates a space for us? That's who you need to talk to.
Hey, Claire from Australia. Hey, sweetie. Yeah, we're talking about democracy today, and we're talking about how we're going to get one in the United States. We don't have it yet, but we're working toward it. We're pressing toward the mark. That has been the American experience and the American idea and ideal. It's something that we're pressing toward all the time. all the time. So let's have some tough conversations. That's the only way you grow. That's the only way that you grow. You got to have the tough conversations. So I want you to talk to these 52 other senators and pull them out. Let's do some close-up shots with them in the Lincoln Room. I'm hearing you. Take them over. Let's have that. I want to see the looks on their faces as you talk about Bull Connor to them. I want you to say, now I convinced Strom Thurmond, like you just said, Latasha. You mean to tell me I can't move one of you? You're to the right of Strom Thurmond when it comes to the vote? Susan? Huh? Oh.
Right. Call him out.
Call him out. So you're telling me that Strom Thurmond was more liberal than you. Is that what you're telling me? Make that speech.
Yeah. Well, he said so.
Well,
I'm going by his word.
All right. Dwight, you still there? You're awfully quiet if you are.
Yeah, I am.
Well, okay.
I'm listening to you all.
You're listening to all of us. Is Daryl still there? Or is he gone?
I was going to add something I'd add that it always makes me think, does he really kind of want what they want and believe what he believes? I really wonder, based on his attitude and attitude of a lot of that party, whether they hide behind the filibuster and if they really are tacitly trying to support this white supremacist agenda. Because ultimately they benefit too, because they're white people.
Absolutely.
They really want to maintain that white superiority. And so I wonder if he really, he's smart enough, he's been there 50 years, that he knows that the lever of power is not at Dr. King's grave, that it's at the Senate. And if he really wanted to be effective, then he would be hiding behind Dr. King's grave. He'd be in the Senate fighting a good fight. It really makes me wonder what these guys' motives really are.
And they need to be called out. Say, I appreciate it. Kumbaya, come by here. But you don't need to do that. I want you to take, let's go. If you want to do something, Dr. King's got a statue on the mall in D.C. All the U.S. Senate, all y'all can meet me here.
All of this can be resolved if they made Washington its own state. All this can be resolved if they brought Puerto Rico in. People of color, if they were to bring them into the mix, all this can be resolved. But they avoid that too. It always makes me wonder what their real motives are.
Well, you know what they are, because you see where we end up. And that's why we cannot be, we have to stop being so sentimental about this and stop talking about what someone feels and talk about what they do. I don't care how you feel in politics. This is not love. And at the end of the day, honey, my man can love me, but if he doesn't take care of me, then what's the point? I'm just breaking it down like that, ladies.
I agree, but let me say a space around it. Just a slight another perspective around it. The bottom line is, it is love. Like, love is accountability.
You're right.
Like, at the end of the day, there's even a Bible verse that says God corrects those that He loves. If we're correcting you, right, if we're trying to speak to your higher self, what is calling erasers out and trying to get you to be at your higher self? That's an act of love.
You're right.
Stopping you from operating in a way that you destroy the environment and the people around you and your very soul. We're doing you a favor. That's an act of love. So
and you know what? And I stand corrected, because love is strength. But you know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about emotional neediness.
I know what you mean.
No. But you were right to correct me. I'm talking about emotional neediness, which leads to some greediness, which is always wrong. It's like, why are you needy for someone's love? Don't be, because that's going to make you greedy for something that's very unhealthy. Just get what you need. Reverend Dr. Otis Moss Jr. said, God will supply your every need, Latasha, not your every greed.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Girl.
And I think the question that Dwight raised, listen, we need to ponder on that.
Yes.
At the end of the day, we've got this, because the one thing that They ain't bipartisan on nothing else in this country consistently, like they all racism.
Absolutely.
They've been real consistent around that.
And stop being party dependent. Stop that.
Stop being party dependent.
Stop it. That's why I relate to Black Republicans. I relate to everybody. I expect you, my Black Republican friends, and a few of them actually do this. When you go into the room with your people, I need you to make the case for us, like Gloria Toot used to do, like Art Fletcher used to do, like George Haley used to do, like William Coleman used to do. Oh, I can call the roll on them. There were some folks who actually went in the room and fought for us. Like, what are you doing? I'm so tired of Black Democrats who come into the room and selfishly get them a second house, an invitation to the White House. I am tired of that. Enough of that. Enough. And I don't want you just to win for Black people. If you win for Black people, you're going to win for everybody. Grow up in your politics. Everybody in. Thank you, Lonnie Guinier, for telling us, you know what, this winner-take-all system that we've got in American politics, it is so immature and it just makes people angry. That's all it does.
But it's also been a tool to consolidate white power.
Of course.
And so I think also, I know we know, but I think we also need to I think, Trump was onto something that we like literally have to be really reflective around.
That's right.
And that is that there is an effort, there is a concerted, organized effort that they don't even care about. Let's be clear. Like, they don't care about this country. We ain't seen nothing else in that January 6th. Right. The people who love America are the folks that America don't love. Right. Because those that claim that love, that have a flag, are the very ones that were walking in that Capitol with a flag destroying it. Where the very ones that were walking in there trying to literally seek to murder one of the leaders of their party. So at the end of the day, there is a visceral, violent element that has always been in this country consistently. Right? Trump didn't create it. What he did is he opened up the doors. He actually brought it back to the surface. And so that's what we're seeing. There's always been a tolerance for white violence in this country. There's always been a tolerance and an appetite, right, of when white folks. Like here it is now we're seeing folks who literally tried to do a coup on America get 18 months in prison. And there's brothers and sisters that are literally in jail for over a decade for selling some weed, the same thing that the white folks are actually making billions of dollars off. Like, it's a time for us to not just even mature of understanding the politics of now, but we have to understand that what we currently have will never give us what we need. That
Absolutely.
It will not serve the purpose at best. The work that we're doing now is around harm reduction. How can we reduce the harm happening to our community, right? So that's why we have to participate in the process. But the goal has always been, for me, is I have to shift. I don't think of myself as just a citizen or a participant in a party. I think of myself as a founder of a new America. Like the America that I think of, the nation that is in the Constitution, that ain't been achieved yet. That's not been generated yet. But we are going to generate it. We're going to take this moment of literally of what we're dealing with right now. I might not even see it, just like the brothers and sisters before me didn't see it. There was somebody on the plantation of 200 and some years ago that said, my child won't be free. And I'm here because of them. And 200 years from now, my children are going to taste Black liberation in a way that I can't even say that the whole political context we got right now will not exist. I am speaking that, and I'm willing to work for it.
Absolutely.
Our people are going to be free.
You know, and America's going to become America to you and me. That's what we're going to do.
It is going to become.
And Santita, I have to run. Ladies, I have to run.
Absolutely.
I have been, I'm in a meeting here, but I just couldn't hang up. You see what I'm saying? So I was multitasking with the earbuds in my ear. And then I realized that I have to go fully into my meeting. But this has been, it's great to hear where we are. And Latasha, I look forward to further collaborating with you on any level, because I feel that we probably going to have to take it to a different level in the streets, as Santita would say.
Well, good, because that's where all these battles are won. Dr. King I will say this as we go, Dr. King was a Black Brahmin, okay? His father was one of the biggest preachers in America, black or white. He renamed himself after a trip to the Middle East from Michael to Martin. Are you kidding me? Dr. King was at the top of the food chain. He was supposed to come out with his PhD at 25 or 26 and get him a church, apprentice at Dexter, and then go take over his father's church that had thousands of members. Are you kidding me? But he left that life and went into the streets and died there. And so did Y.T. Walker. So did James Bevel. Are you kidding me? So no. We can't play cute here. I'm not going to see it. At my age, I probably will not see it. But I know the promised land. I know it will manifest. But you're going to have to make it happen. You're going to have to make it happen. And it can't be done selfishly. It's not just for one people. It's for all people. But be very clear. When you make good on what you've done to black people and to indigenous people, then you will make everything right. You're not going to be right until you settle the score with those you've hurt the most. That's the way it works.
Santita,
I love y'all.
Bring up this time. I love you too, but when you were talking, I was just thinking about there's a line in The Color Purple where Celia said,
"Kill you what?
Until you do right by me."
Gon' crumble. She didn't say gonna. She said gon' crumble.
No, she said gon' crumble.
Gon' crumble.
And this country will continue to go through perpetual chaos until they correct the harm, the hurt that they've created throughout, not just in this nation, but throughout the world.
Absolutely. So, make it right. Making it right with the indigenous people is not going to hurt you. It's going to help you. It's going to make you right. Making it right with black people is not going to hurt you. It's going to help you. It's going to make it right. Making it right with women of all colors is not going to hurt you. It's going to help you. My mama says, you cannot help someone else without helping yourself. Grow up, everybody. In your politics, spiritually, in every way, grow up. Let's get this together. The Republic is in crisis, and spiritually, we're all in crisis. You saw those people get burned up in New York because they didn't have heat. Somebody was using a space heater in America, where trillionaires are about to be made. Are you kidding me? This is another Gilded Age. This is ridiculous. And it ought to be abhorrent to you. My pastor, Reverend Clay Evans, who was Dwight's pastor too, he said, "I've never seen God make a mouth he couldn't feed. I've never seen God have a vision making provision. God, you are a manifestation of God's vision. You are a mouth that should be fed. There's enough food on this earth for everybody to eat. There's enough land for everybody to live well. But some people are greedy, and you need to call them out and get them straight. Not hurt them, but get them straight. And you need to get yours. And you need to ensure that everybody else gets theirs." Latasha, I hope you come back real soon, girl. You got us fired up today.
I will be back. I love this crew. I love you, sister. I love your clarity and the frame. I'm on the way to another meeting I'm late at because I needed to be in community with you all today. You and Brother Dwight and CK and Brother Darrell and this is really how we're gonna make change. We have to be in community with each other and raise our collective voices. So thank you, sis.
Girl, look, you got it. Love you.
Latasha, I want to commend you on all your work you've been doing, the yeoman's work, the yeoman's job of keeping hope alive.
You have been.
Thank you so. Thank you, because they've been they big mad. They've been coming at us. They've been coming.
Good.
They have been coming for us because they mad about this meeting.
That means something good. How about that?
Amen.
If everybody's loving you, you ain't doing nothing. How about that?
Doing nothing, are you?
No, you're not.
That means
I'm not going to mention any names, but there is a big black dinner that we used to go to every year before my father ran for president, and they had our table at the back door. Always, every year. Every year. Wow. Now, girl, so what? So what? My father lifted the people and the people lifted him. Let me give you this, but as we go. First Obama inauguration, my father's tickets had him in general seating. That is at the Lincoln Memorial. He didn't have special seats at all. At all. But to show you how the Lord works, there were 2 white police officers who were with Reverend, and they said, Reverend, we're going to take you to the Capitol. And as you recall, during the Obama inauguration, there were several million people in DC. DC is a city of 500,000 people. So you literally could not move around the city. You literally could not move. And my father said, no, I can't go to the Capitol because my tickets don't take me there. And they said, Reverend, we're going to take you to the Capitol. And my father looked at the police officers. He said, because mind you, we're like packed in by this car. They said, Reverend, we're going to take you to the Capitol. And before my father could say another word, they literally pushed his head down and pushed him into the police car and pushed me and my sister behind him. And they kept on driving. Then the Secret Service came out when we got to the Capitol because they knew that we didn't have tickets. They brought us into the trailer, gave us hot chocolate. And they looked at my father and they said, Reverend, we're sorry, but we're trying to work this out. Then one of the officers came out and said, we're going to get you as close as we can. Then staff members started moving us to the Capitol. And do you know we were sitting right by Oprah Winfrey by the time it was all over? Just do the right things for the right reasons. Let God do it. But you keep on going. And take anger and any kind of vengeance out of your heart. Just keep on going and growing. Do the right things for the right reasons and ask God to continue to make your heart right. That's all you need to do. God will work it out. Jesus going to work it out. Thank you, Father Hayes. He's going to work it out. 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 And the next time you come on, you're going to have to sing like you did for Tiffany Cross. Hello. Thank you. Okay. Okay. I didn't call you today because we're on roll, but okay. So you're going to do that. You're going to put your little track in the back or you're going to sing a cappella. So how about that? You're going to sing me out the show. Okay? Hello? Oh, okay. Next time you're going to do that. Okay. Thank you. I'm like,
I love to be volunteering.
He's giving Tiffany Cross some love, and I love her. But you're going to give me some, too. Thank you. Hello.
I got it.
And we're going to get this singing man, Maurice Mahan, who just checked in. Maurice is one of the singingest, writingest so-and-sos out here. And we're going to do something on the air, Maurice. Okay? With Latasha, because she's one of the singingest somebody you want to know. Yeah, come on. We're going to do that. All right.
So I take it that you, songstress, will be singing with us as well.
I sure will. How about that?
Okay. How about that?
How about that? How about that? How about that? Yes. How about that?
Oh, that's right.
Love you, girl.
All right. Love you too. Bye,
love
y'all.
you, Dwight.
You.
Love you, CK.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Amen. Bye, everybody. Take care, Matt. Matt, I want you.